After 1 week, Uzumaki Naruto was born, and the world changed. Many things remained hidden, but others became widely known. When the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, news spread like wildfire. Seeing Konoha in a weakened state, other villages considered attacking. Uega Corps was the first to plan an assault but abandoned the idea when both of their Jinchuriki mysteriously fell into comas. They had intended to use their tailed beast hosts to attack Konoha but were now in disarray. Unbeknownst to them, every other major hidden village was experiencing the same problem with their Jinchuriki. They tried everything to wake them, even painful methods, but nothing worked. Their cage were worried. With their tailed beast holders in a sudden coma, they had lost a significant amount of power. Unsure of what to do, they decided to wait for them to wake up. The cage ran tests to find out why their Jinchuriki had fallen into such a deep unconsciousness but found nothing wrong. They didn't appear to have chakra exhaustion, nor were they attacked by their Biju, which was considered almost impossible anyway. They also hadn't suddenly fallen ill. A week later, all of the Jinchuriki began to wake up, though none of the villages knew about the other similar issues. Once awake, each individual was barraged with questions, but no one had an answer. The Jinchuriki felt nothing different besides a strange, unexplainable tiredness. Those with the ability to enter their mindscapes did so, only to find their Biju asleep behind their seals. The Hakubi, the Nibi, the Gobi, and the Rokubai would not stir from their slumbears, which struck their partners as very odd. When the cage learned of this, they dropped the cases, seeing it as a random, strange occurrence. With their Jinchuriki now awake, they shrugged it off. They were initially wary of their tailed beast hosts, but as another week passed without incident, they entirely dismissed it as a problem with their Biju. Every individual was told to inform their cage if something else happened so they could be prepared if their Biju somehow escaped. This was especially true for the Ichibai's Jinchuriki, as the Kaze cage ordered his finest seal masters to reinforce the seal on his son, a young boy with red hair and the kanji for love on his forehead. These seal masters were not well versed in Fuinjutsu. The only one with any knowledge of sealing was an old, short woman. The young boy had woken up feeling surprisingly better. His tailed beast had always kept him awake, so its sudden unconsciousness had sent Tsunagakure into a panic. Nothing happened to him, and he didn't know that his Biju was also asleep, just like every other Biju, from the Ichibai to the Hakubi. However, the holder of the Kyuubi no Yoko, young Uzumaki Naruto, was awake the whole time, and something unbelievable had happened to him, unbeknownst to everyone. Konohagakure no Sato. While the rest of the elemental nations dealt with these strange events, a newborn, red-haired baby in the village hidden in the leaves was experiencing his own set of troubles, unable to defend himself at only a few weeks old. Konoha was still in a state of emergency, and the Sandaime Hokage had retaken his position, much to the dismay of himself and his old teammates. Meanwhile, everyone had suddenly become aware of the newest Jinchuriki. The problem for Sarutobi Hiruzen was that he didn't know who leaked the information. He had his suspicions, as only a few members of his council had been informed of the newborn status. This only created more problems for the Sandaime, as most of the Konoha population demanded the demon be executed. This prompted Hiruzen to install a new law. Anyone who dares speak of the Kyuubi or of Uzumaki Naruto being the Jinchuriki of the beast will be executed on the spot without a trial, the booming, yet old, voice of Sarutobi Hiruzen declared. After that, everyone remained silent, though their anger toward the boy only grew. No one dared to act or speak out, as the cage's position was not given to just anyone, and no one wanted to anger their longest-serving Hokage. They all respected their Sandaime, even if not everyone liked his new rule. With Naruto, the 2-week-old boy had been sent to the orphanage to be cared for, even though Sarutobi Hiruzen and a few other clan heads wanted to take him in. Some of them wanted to do so to increase their power, as the power of a Jinchuriki was vast, especially the host of the strongest tailed beast. These same thoughts led the Sandaime to send the boy to the orphanage with a heavy heart. He also warned the caretakers that if any harm came to his new surrogate grandson, they would be punished accordingly. "Let anything happen to Naruto, and I will have your head," were his exact words. They were caretakers, so their job was to care for babies. They nodded as fast as they could, knowing it was a direct order from their cage. Even if they didn't want to, they knew they had to. The young, red-haired boy was currently sleeping, which he did a lot. When he was awake, he cried very little. His caretakers didn't care or worry, as they didn't want to take care of the demon. It just meant more time for themselves. Unbeknownst to them or anyone else, young Uzumaki Naruto was in constant pain. He didn't show it or even feel it, as the beast within him took the pain away. This was also why he slept so much. His Biju was constantly healing him. The pain was caused by his undeveloped chakra coils, as he was still a newborn. No one, not even Naruto, knew that every time he slept, his chakra coils were growing. Normally, this growth would be nothing special for a baby born to shinobi parents. However, for the young boy, his chakra coils were not just growing, they were tearing themselves apart, only to heal and grow again. His chakra coils were constantly being destroyed and rebuilt, all without anyone knowing. Only one being knew of this, the Biju within Naruto, who was causing everything. The Jubi wanted its host to be strong, so it constantly fed its own chakra to Naruto, which destroyed his chakra coils due to its sheer power. The Biju then healed him and took away the pain, all while operating at half of its maximum chakra. When the Jubi was split into the 9 Biju, it knew that upon its return, it wouldn't have all its chakra back and would have even less the longer it took to be reformed. The Jubi had a plan for this, to absorb the surrounding nature chakra while inside its new host. It only took chakra from nature, not wanting to draw any attention to its host. However, the being also knew it couldn't absorb chakra from anyone just by resting inside its host, and the only way to regain its chakra was to wait. The entity figured it would only have to wait 1 year to have all its chakra back, which was fine by the Jubi. It had nothing but time, as it was inside a host it wanted to help grow and then test once the child came of age. Naruto, on the other hand, was unaware of any of this. He was fed daily, but his caretakers only gave him the bare minimum to keep him alive. They also had to bathe him and do everything else for him because of his young age. This annoyed them, but they didn't want to anger their cage, as they valued their own lives. While all this was happening, another problem arose, one that the world was not yet aware of. This problem appeared in a cave, where only a few individuals were gathered. Some were in a holographic state, as only their images were present. Only 2 of the individuals were solid, forming a 2-man team. Every individual had one thing in common, their black cloaks adorned with red clouds. They stood in a circle. While the holographic figures could not be identified due to their lack of color, the 2 solid figures could. One had blonde hair tied into a ponytail, the other appeared to be a shadowy figure. They also wore straw hats that covered their faces, as if they were hiding from the world. The blonde-haired man's hair could only be identified because of the current situation. Kakuzu, Deidara, be quiet, a voice with authority boomed from one of the holograms. Both individuals obeyed, not wanting to anger the person who had told them to be quiet. This individual, while also wearing a cloak, wore a mask with a single eye hole. The eye that showed was red with 3 tomo, identifiable as the Uchiha clan's dojutsu, the Sharingan. Asshole, the blonde-haired man muttered, directing it at the other person he had been fighting with moments before. The other person didn't acknowledge the blonde, not caring about the argument. He cared about money, and the blonde cared about his art, which was why they had been arguing about which was better. Now if you will, Zetsu, tell us what you have found out, another man spoke. This one had short, spiky hair and brown eyes. To his right stood someone whose head was between 2 plants growing from his neck, the person he was speaking to. This individual, with plants growing from his neck, also only had half a mouth. One side was darker than the other, and both halves seemed to be in thought. It seems the plan didn't go as we wanted. Konoha is still standing, spoke the plant-like figure known as Zetsu, with both sides of his mouth taking turns to talk. That is acceptable. They have been crippled and lost their yondaime. The fall of Konoha will come, just not today. We know of their new Kyubi Jinchuriki, the child of the yondaime, said the masked man, continuing after a few seconds. Our plans will continue as planned, only with a delay of at least 3 years. We will monitor the Jinchuriki as much as possible without revealing ourselves. We also need to gather more allies. The most pressing matter is to find anything we can regarding what we need to start our end plan. Zetsu, Nagato, and I will handle that, the masked figure concluded. The people he mentioned nodded before the holograms of almost everyone faded, leaving only the masked figure, Zetsu, and 3 other people behind. Let us continue our search for our tool, the dark voice of Zetsu's black half said before the plant figure disappeared into the ground. The remaining people followed, all leaving in pairs. Kumagakure no Sato, 2 years later. What? A very large man shouted from the largest tower in Kumagakure. He was behind his desk, with his chair lying on the ground, indicating he had suddenly jumped out of his seat. The desk was also broken, another clear sign that he was angry. This huge man had dark skin and a muscular build. He had backward-combed blonde hair, along with a small mustache and goatee. He was wearing a white haori without a shirt, with 2 golden vambraces on his wrists. This was the yondaime Reikage of Kumagakure. What do you mean they're gone? How is that possible? The Reikage yelled again at the 2 people standing in front of him. One was another large man with the same skin and hair color as the Reikage. He wore oval-shaped sunglasses with a white forehead protector. He also wore a one-strap flak jacket with a long red rope belt tied around his waist, along with hand and shin guards, which were common for Kumo shinobi. To finish it off, he had on shinobi sandals and a white scarf around his neck. On his back were 7 swords, showing he was a master kenjutsu user. The second person was a woman with long, straight blonde hair held with tight bandages. She had dark eyes and dark lipstick. She wore a short-sleeved black and purple blouse with black pants, both with a cloud design. She also had on purple fingerless gloves with white chain-like beads around her left hand. She wore a standard Kumo forehead protector, shinobi sandals, and a kunao holster strapped to her right thigh. Ujito, tell me this instant what happened. How can both of your Biju just be gone? Their leader yelled, angry at what the two had told him minutes before. The woman Nii Yujito slightly bowed her head to her leader before she spoke. It's like we said, Reikage-sama, we don't know what happened. I woke up this morning to try and talk to the Nibi again, but this time she was gone, along with my seal. I have no explanation for how that's possible, Yujito said, looking at the muscular cage before she continued. The Jinchuriki's report. If she had been extracted from me while I was asleep, I wouldn't be here now. As we all know, that process kills the host. Yet, I'm still alive, just like B. But over the last few years, as we've reported, I haven't been able to use the Nibi's chakra at all, much like B's inability to draw power from the Haxabi. Both our chakra levels have also been significantly depleted, the blonde woman finished, glancing at the man beside her whenever she mentioned his name. Killer B and Yujito Nii had been submitting reports to their cage for 2 years regarding their respective tailed beasts. Now, they were reporting that both Biju were simply gone, with no trace left behind. Their seals had also vanished into thin air, something that was supposed to be impossible without the hosts being aware of it. The Reikage's reaction. The Reikage, rubbed his forehead. This is a disaster. We've lost both the Nibi and the Haxabi, and we have no idea why. We need to get to the bottom of this immediately, but we also need to keep it under wraps. Do not tell anyone else about this. Is that understood? He commanded, receiving nods from both Killer B and Yujito Nii. None of them noticed the plant-like figure hidden in the room. Zetsu, concealed in the shadows of the cage tower, listened to the entire conversation. After hiding his presence from everyone, the plant-like being dissolved back into the ground with a single thought: what? How can they just be gone? He tried to sense the Nibi and Haxabi within their hosts but found that their claims were true. A worldwide event. The same incident was happening across the entire elemental nations. Every village with a Jinchuriki was going through the same thing as Kumagakur. After countless failed attempts to contact their tailed beasts, the respective hosts reported that they had suddenly disappeared. In Tsunegakur, the young red-headed boy who had only recently been able to sleep reported to the Kaze cage that his mother, as he briefly called the Ichibai, had been unresponsive since he was able to enter his mindscape. No matter what he or the Kaze cage tried, the Ichibai remained silent. The Kaze cage was enraged to learn the Biju was gone. He ordered the old woman who had previously checked his seal to verify the boy's story. She immediately confirmed that the boy wasn't lying. The seal that had once been visible on his forehead was gone, just like the Ichibai. In Iwagakur, that Tsuchikage nearly blew his 2 Jinchuriki away with his jutsu after they delivered the news. He too refused to believe them, ordering them to be checked out to confirm the tailed beasts were truly gone. The same thing happened in Takigakur no Sato and Kirigakur. It all occurred on the same day, at the same time, while no one on the outside knew any better. Zetsu was aware of the events in Kumagakur because he had been checking on the Haxabi's progress. Killer B was known for being one of the few who could fully control his Biju before falling into a coma like the other 7 Jinchuriki. The only place that was still in the dark was Konoha. Their Jinchuriki, the youngest of them all, didn't even know of his status, let alone what had happened. The 2-year-old boy, whose birthday it was, only knew that the people around him treated him differently, rarely feeding him even when he cried for food. The aftermath. It was 2 months later that word finally began to spread about the disappearance of the tailed beasts. This only happened because the respective cages had informed their top shinobi of the sudden loss of power. No cage wanted the news to get past their walls, fearing that their enemies would exploit their village's weakness. Through spies in each other's villages, the cages discovered that this wasn't an isolated incident. When the news reached the leaders, they immediately called a council meeting to discuss it. It seems our Jinchuriki weren't the only ones who lost their Biju. Taki, Suna, Kiri, and Iwa have all lost theirs as well, the Reikage's booming voice echoed as he spoke to his council. One of Kumagakur's elders then asked the question on everyone's mind: what about Konoha? Who was their Jinchuriki, and did they also lose the Kyubi? That's the one thing we don't know, stated. For now, we'll assume they lost their power too, since this has happened all over the elemental nations. He had no knowledge of who the Kyubi's Jinchuriki was or what had happened after the attack. After the meetings concluded in each village, the leaders decided to inform their people. The loss of power was massive, but if it was happening worldwide, they saw no reason to keep it secret. They wanted to lessen the burden on their former Jinchuriki and let their people know that there were no longer any monsters sealed within them. The result was what they had hoped for: peace for the shinobi who had sacrificed so much. The villagers began to treat the former Jinchuriki with kindness and respect. While not all villagers accepted it at once, they were starting to come around, and the cages knew it was only a matter of time before this world-changing event settled and their people fully accepted it. There was only one problem. While the villagers in every other village began to accept the news, Konoha was an entirely different story. Konoha Council Meeting. What do you mean all the Biju are gone, Hokage-sama? Asked one of Konoha's elders, an old woman named Koharu. She and everyone else in the council meeting had just been told by their leader that all the tailed beasts had disappeared. He had only learned this a few minutes prior from his former student and Konoha's spymaster, the white-haired Jiraiya. As one of the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya had been informed of the events happening across the elemental nations and immediately returned to inform his cage. This led to the current meeting, as Konoha had been unaware of the situation until now. The reason for their ignorance was Naruto's age. The 2-year-old couldn't form a full sentence, let alone tell them about something he wasn't even aware of. Just as I said, Koharu, the Saname Hokage sold but stern voice replied. Kumagakur, Uegakur, and every other village with a Jinchuriki has reported that their Biju simply disappeared. According to Jiraiya, this happened months ago, and word only recently got out to their top shinobi. Then what about our Jinchuriki? Have we lost our weapon as well? This question came from another old shinobi, a man covered in bandages that concealed his entire right arm and the right side of his face. Hiruzen grew angry at the man's callous reference to Naruto as a weapon, though he didn't show it. We'll find out soon, Danzo. I sent Jiraiya to check on young Naruto before this meeting started, he told the bandaged man, who gave a slight nod. Just then, the doors to the meeting room opened. They all looked to the entrance, where Jiraiya now stood. He walked over to his old sensei and whispered something to him, causing the old man's eyes to widen slightly, though not enough for anyone to notice. After a brief nod, Jiraiya stepped back to stand behind the Hokage. Sighing, Hiruzen spoke. It appears we are also without a Jinchuriki. The Kyuubi has disappeared just like all the other Biju. The seal on Naruto is also gone, and there's no trace of it left behind, he informed them. A man from the civilian side of the council spoke up. Does that mean the demon is gone? He didn't receive an answer. The man who questioned the Hokage fell to the ground, his head rolling to one side while his body fell to the other. The rest of the civilian council watched in shock, while most of the shinobi side smirked. My law still stands, Hiruzen said, his voice now laced with controlled anger and killer intent, which was also backed by the angry Jiraiya behind him. Do not forget your place in this village and who you answer to. Inform the villagers of this, as I'm sure all the other villages have done by now. Make sure you tell them the truth, or you will be held responsible and find yourselves without a head if the message is spread incorrectly, Hiruzen ordered before adjourning the meeting. As they left, Danzo had one thought before he, too, disappeared. How could this have happened? Our weapon is gone. I could have molded him into a fine shinobi. He left, unaware that many others shared a similar thought, though without viewing Naruto as a weapon. Naruto's struggle. Soon after, the news spread. While every village's people began to accept what they were told, Konoha was, once again, a different story. As the other former Jinchuriki's lives became happier, Naruto's life became more difficult. This was because the people of Konoha misinterpreted the message. When they received the news exactly as Hiruzen intended, the unthinkable happened. The villagers began asking, why isn't the demon gone? I just saw him yesterday. They told us the demons from every village disappeared. So why are we cursed? We still have our demon among us. They believed Naruto was the reincarnation of the Kyuubi and that he should have vanished like the others. This was the beginning of something horrible, something Hiruzen hadn't foreseen. The people of Konoha started believing they were cursed, and they began calling Naruto the curse of Konoha. Hiruzen hoped that with time, the people's wounds would heal. He saw that some of his people were starting to warm up to the idea of the Kyuubi being gone, and they could tell the difference between a container and the contained, but not everyone could. Because of this, the Saname Hokage maintained his law to protect Naruto, hoping that with time, everything would be alright. He knew that if anything were to happen to the young boy, he would deal with the people accordingly. Akatsuki's emergency meeting. In a dark cave, several transparent holographic figures stood in a circle. An emergency meeting had been called by a plant-like being. Zetsu, why have you called us so urgently? Asked a man with long hair that appeared blue due to the hologram effect. I've made an urgent discovery. Zetsu's two halves spoke in alternating turns, finishing each other's sentences. The Biju, all of them, seemed to have disappeared without a trace. I checked everything myself and found it to be true. There are no traces of them left from their former hosts. I will continue to search for them, but we don't know where to start because the hosts are still alive. This caused everyone to grow wide-eyed, not wanting to believe what they had just heard. What? How is that possible? The masked man with the Sharingan yelled in anger. Zetsu said nothing, waiting for him to calm down, which didn't take long. This changes everything, the masked man continued. Now we have to find them before we can do anything else, no matter what it takes. Search this entire planet if you have to. Find the Biju. They can't just be gone, he demanded, still showing a hint of anger. With that, the holograms dissipated, leaving the dark cave behind once again. A horrible birthday. Today marked a great day for Konohagakure no Sato, the day their fourth Hokage defeated the Kyuubi. But while the beast was gone, not everyone accepted it. When Hiruzen had his shinobi spread the news, some accepted it, able to see the difference between the jailer and the prisoner. However, the majority of the civilians and some Chunin and Jonin did not. It was they who began spreading the word that Konoha was cursed because their demon didn't seem to want to leave. While the defeat of the Kyuubi was still celebrated, many chose this day to exact revenge on the curse of Konoha, the demon boy. At first, they were subtle, only glaring at him, refusing to give him anything, or even look at him. When he turned 3, however, he was thrown out of the orphanage. "Now you're old enough to defend yourself, you monster. And you better not tell Hokage-sama about this, or you'll cause him a lot of trouble. He already does so much for us, he can't help you too, filth," the lady who had cared for him for 3 years told him. Naruto, being only 3, believed what he was told and decided not to give his Jiji any more trouble than he already had. A Hokage's burden and a village's scorn. Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi's heart ached with each passing day. His visits to the young, red-haired boy, Naruto, had become agonizingly infrequent. The village of Konoha, still grappling with the devastation of the Kyuubi attack 3 years prior, demanded his full attention. Rebuilding the infrastructure, restoring order, and healing the collective trauma of his people were responsibilities that eclipsed all personal attachments. Though it caused him immense sadness, Hiruzen knew the village's well-being had to come first. The weight of his title, the mantle of Hokage, meant no personal feelings could ever take precedence. Despite his concerns, the reports he received about Naruto were deceptively calm. No one ever reported any abuse, and during their rare meetings, the boy would always insist that everything was fine. Hiruzen, however, was not fooled. He saw through the child's feigned cheerfulness, knowing it was a desperate attempt to ease his own worries. This only amplified the old Kage's fears. In an effort to ensure Naruto's safety, he had assigned 2 Chunin to discreetly watch over the boy at all times. What he failed to realize was that these very shinobi harbored a deep-seated hatred for Naruto, viewing him not as a child, but as the curse of Konoha. The fault, in part, lay with his advisor, Danzo Shimura. When Hiruzen ordered Danzo to select the guards, he was unaware of the men's animosity. Danzo, having also come to resent the boy following the loss of the Kyuubi, was unconcerned with Naruto's fate. He had convinced Hiruzen that placing Jonin to guard the boy was a waste of valuable manpower, arguing that the village needed every available ninja for rebuilding missions. Reluctantly, Hiruzen had agreed. He desperately hoped that the boy was safe, but the truth was, no one had been willing to adopt him. Those close to his parents already had their own families to care for, and others, fueled by fear and hatred, wanted no part of him. Hiruzen himself had considered adopting Naruto, but he knew his duties as Hokage and the recent decimation of his clan made it impossible to provide the care the child deserved. A child's despair. Time passed, and the situation for Naruto only worsened. On his 3rd birthday, he was cruelly cast out of the orphanage. With nowhere to go, he was forced to live on the streets. The hatred of the villagers, no longer kept in check by institutional walls, began to manifest with brutal frequency. They would deny him food, hurl stones at him, and unleash their fury whenever he was found. Naruto's nights became a blur of sorrow and confusion. Huddled in a makeshift bed, a small cardboard box behind a dumpster in a secluded alley, he would cry himself to sleep. "I've never hurt anyone," he'd whisper to himself. "Why do they hurt me and call me those mean things?" For over a year, this question haunted his every waking and sleeping moment. The dumpster became his lifeline, a source of discarded food, often rotten, that he scavenged to survive. He was a small, gaunt figure, his pants held up by a piece of rope around a malnourished waist. The food made him constantly sick, but his remarkable resilience, a natural gift he didn't yet understand, kept him from falling ill. His only source of clean water was rainwater, and any attempt to wash himself in a nearby river was met with a barrage of rocks from angry villagers. Today, however, would be different. It was his 4th birthday, and a new level of terror was about to be unleashed. He was being chased by an angry mob, their faces contorted with rage, their hands clutching makeshift weapons. "Get the demon," they screamed. "Get the curse of Konoha." Tears streamed down Naruto's face as he ran, a small, desperate figure hoping for a miracle. He hadn't seen his Jiji, the Hokage, in over a year and had long since given up hope of rescue. He darted into an alley, only to realize with a gasp of horror that it was a dead end. Turning back, he found the mob blocking his escape, their smiles predatory and cruel. They had been toying with him, cornering him like a trapped animal. Finally, a man sneered. "Right where we want you, you piece of trash." Naruto stumbled backward, his small body trembling. Please, don't hurt me. I didn't do anything to anyone," he pleaded, his voice a broken whisper. His pleas only fueled their rage. "You dare say that, you monster," shouted a man in a Chunin flak jacket, his voice dripping with disgust. "You're still here, while every other village had their demons disappear on them. They had the luck, where we had to be cursed with you. Why couldn't you just disappear like the rest of your kind?" The words hit Naruto like a physical blow, leaving him stunned and heartbroken. Before he could even comprehend their meaning, the man threw a kunai. It embedded itself in Naruto's stomach, and a scream of pure agony tore from the boy's throat. The mob descended upon him, a frenzy of punches, kicks, and stabs. For over an hour, they beat and tortured him, uncaring of his cries for mercy. Finally, exhausted, they left him for dead, a small, still body lying in a pool of his own blood. A new ally and a lingering wound. Naruto's eyes fluttered closed as he faded into unconsciousness, still begging for help. He didn't see the impossible happen next. The monstrous entity sealed within him, the Kyuubi, had witnessed his pain. Disgusted by the villagers' cruelty, the beast released a surge of chakra. In mere seconds, the child's wounds closed, the gashes and stab wounds vanishing as if they had never existed. The blood on the ground was real, but within his body, new blood cells were rapidly regenerating. "Don't worry, young one. I will help you," a deep voice echoed from within Naruto's mindscape. The Jubi, the progenitor of the tailed beasts and the entity from which the Kyuubi was born, had been watching everything. It was appalled by the brutality shown toward the boy but had chosen not to intervene, knowing its chakra would instantly heal him. The pain remained, a ghost of the attack, but the physical injuries were gone. An hour later, Naruto stirred. It was night, and the blood he lay in was invisible in the dark. He sat up, rubbing his head, and began to search for his wounds. Finding nothing, he was bewildered. "That's weird," he mumbled to himself, the memory of the attack flooding back. The Chunin's words echoed in his mind, and he began to sob, clutching his knees to his chest. "Why do they hate me so much? What did I ever do? I don't even know anyone." His thoughts spiraled into a pit of despair. Would it be better if I was never born? No one likes me or cares for me. The tears streamed down his face. If it made them happy for me to be gone, then maybe that's what I should do. He couldn't say the word disappear, too young and uneducated to remember it, but the meaning was devastatingly clear. "Would you forgive them, young one?" the same disembodied voice from before asked, startling him. Naruto frantically looked around but saw no one. He thought about the question. He knew what forgive meant, a word his Jiji had taught him. He didn't want to be like the people who hated him, he wanted to be true to himself. I would," he answered, unknowingly speaking to the presence within him. "Do you hate them?" the voice asked again. "Who's there?" Naruto asked, his voice shaking, but there was only silence. He sat against the wall, pondering the question of hatred. Even at his young age, he knew what hatred was, but he didn't feel it for the villagers. "I don't think I do," he thought, the voice seemingly reading his mind. The Jubi, amused and intrigued by the boy's innocent resilience, retreated. "He is very naive," it thought. "But that is understandable. In time, I believe he will come to hate. I will keep watching you, young one. You intrigue me, and I for one do not like the way those ants treat you." A fifth birthday and a vicious truth. The following year was even more brutal than the last. When Naruto emerged from that alleyway, completely healed, the villagers' hatred intensified. Many had heard of the beating but had not participated, staying silent out of fear of the Hokage. But now, seeing the boy unharmed, they felt a renewed sense of injustice. Naruto, now 5, had become a ghost. He never smiled, never spoke, and never looked at anyone. He learned to be silent and invisible, believing the Hokage had forgotten him. He doubted the old man even knew he had been kicked out of the orphanage 2 years ago. His clothes were now little more than rags, and his body was even more emaciated. Tonight, on his 5th birthday, he was desperate to find a new hiding spot. He ran as fast as his small legs could carry him, trying to avoid a repeat of the previous year's horrors. He reached a vast, open field bordered by a dense line of trees and a massive fence. The place seemed eerie, but a patch of bushes on his side of the fence offered a perfect hiding spot. He didn't realize he was being followed by the same Chunin the Hokage had assigned to protect him. Well, I didn't think you would make it this easy for us this year, you damn demon," one of the men, a dark-haired shinobi with a cigarette, sneered. Before Naruto could react, the other Chunin, the same one who had stabbed him a year ago, tackled him and pinned him to the ground. "Not so fast, demon. Last time you got away, fully healed somehow. This time, however, we brought backup." A large mob emerged from the darkness, their numbers even greater than before, their weapons glinting in the moonlight. Among them was an older, blonde-haired man in a Jonin flak jacket. Naruto, who had always viewed Jonin with a mix of awe and distance, now saw one in the crowd, his face twisted with hatred. Terror seized him, and he thrashed wildly. Please, let me go. I didn't do anything," he pleaded, his voice cracking with fear. The blonde-haired man laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "That's not what I want to hear, little demon. I want to hear you scream, just like how my mother screamed before she died when you attacked us 5 years ago." Naruto was utterly bewildered. But I am only 5 years old. How could I hurt anyone when I was born?" The man's laughter turned venomous. "It seems you don't know, you demon. You're the reincarnation of the Kyuubi and the curse of Konoha," he screamed, his words filled with a lifetime of pain and rage. He leaped onto the pinned boy, and the beating began again. A savage beating began. Naruto, battered and crying, screamed into the laughing crowd. Please, someone, anyone, help me." His pleas were met with more cruel laughter. The mob's mood turned serious as they brandished their weapons. A kunai slashed his right side, followed by a piercing stab to his left. He was kicked again, then another blade plunged into him. Naruto's scream of agony only seemed to fuel a dark-haired Chunin's rage. Seizing Naruto's head, the Chunin slit his throat where his vocal cords were, causing Naruto to almost lose consciousness from the pain. A Jonin then plunged a needle into Naruto's chest, a needle filled with a chemical designed to keep him painfully awake. The relentless beating resumed. The Jonin took a kunai in his right hand. "Goodbye, demon," he sneered, slicing deeply into the red-headed boy's throat, ensuring the wound would be beyond healing. Naruto instinctively clutched his neck, the bleeding and pain overwhelming him. He tried to scream, but the damage to his vocal cords prevented any sound. The mob watched, smiling, eager to see their curse finally die, making sure he couldn't heal again. Naruto's mind raced with a single, desperate thought: stop the bleeding. He knew he was dying, yet he still cried out for help. The realization that no one would ever care for him, that no one would ever help, finally silenced his pleas. The red-headed boy's eyes opened to a profound darkness. Tears still streamed down his face, a sensation he found strangely out of place. I guess I'm dead," he whispered to himself through soft sobs. No one ever cared. He tried to wipe the tears away, but they continued to fall. A small light appeared before him. He stood up on a platform that seemed to materialize beneath his feet. Though small, Naruto moved quickly toward the light, passing through it to find himself staring at a massive, jail-like gate. Confused, he approached the bars, only to see more darkness on the other side. "Where am I?" he asked into the void. "You are not dead, young one," a familiar voice replied, the same one he'd heard a year ago after another brutal torture session. "Who's there?" the boy asked, hoping this time the voice would reveal itself. When it did, Naruto stumbled back. A gigantic red eye opened before him, and light flooded the space, revealing the full, immense form of the Jubi. To call the entity massive would be an understatement. The creature was terrifying, but Naruto felt a strange lack of fear. The entity, which was nearly twice the size of Konoha, spoke again. "As I said, you are not dead, so do not worry." It continued, "I will not say much now. Just know, this is inside your mind, so to speak. I am as real as you are." The Jubi stared at the tiny human before it. "I will answer all your questions later. For now, just know you can trust me. You have called for help so many times, yet no one came. I will help you. We cannot speak much now, but when we do again, which will be soon, know that you are not alone." Naruto, too shocked to speak, could only nod in understanding. "Also, you may call me Jubi. I have no name, so that will do for now," the entity concluded, and Naruto felt a strong pull, waking to find himself staring at his attackers once more. What Naruto couldn't see, but his attackers could, were his wounds healing at an inhuman speed. The deep gash on his neck and his vocal cords mended before their very eyes. "Demon! See, no human can heal that fast. Not even Tsunade-sama," the Jonin screamed, preparing to attack again. But then he saw Naruto's eyes. What? How does he have the Sharingan?" he yelled as the others began to panic. They, too, saw the glowing, red eyes. They had heard of the legendary dojutsu but had never seen one cover an entire eye or glow like this. As the Jonin lunged, the Jubi's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. "Young one, I've temporarily opened your chakra paths. Hold your right hand out and repeat after me." Naruto complied. The Jonin was about to stab him as Naruto's hand came up. A strange energy coursed through him, and he repeated the words the Jubi had spoken. "Shinra Tensei. Almighty push." An invisible force erupted from Naruto, pushing outward from his hand. The blast was far more powerful than he could have imagined. The Jonin was not just pushed back, his entire body was disintegrated. The same fate met everyone else nearby. The attack was so immense that it not only killed the mob but also leveled everything around him, including the trees and ground, leaving a massive crater where a training field once stood. "Guess that was a bit much," the Jubi's voice said, sounding almost amused. Naruto stared at the devastation. I did that? You did, young one. Don't dwell on it now. I'm sensing people approaching. Run into the forest behind you and hide. I will help you." Naruto did as he was told, sprinting into the ominous forest as the Jubi continued to track the approaching shinobi. It wasn't long before the Sandaime Hokage and several Umbu appeared in the crater. "What caused this?" the Hokage asked, surveying the scene and the copious amounts of blood. "Find out who did this. Search the entire forest of death if you have to. It's the only place they could have run." The Umbu immediately followed orders, disappearing into the woods. The Hokage couldn't even identify the remains of the dead. He sighed, looking at the forest. Who or what could have done this? Anko is on a mission, but even she couldn't create this level of destruction. Naruto hid inside a hollowed-out tree trunk. The Jubi masked his chakra and scent, making him undetectable to the Umbu. He stayed there for so long he eventually fell asleep, only waking when the Jubi spoke again. "They are gone, young one. Trusting the voice, Naruto emerged from the tree, ready to return to Konoha's streets. Stop, young one. Do not go back to that wretched place. Not yet. Naruto froze. But, why? I know they treat me badly and almost killed me, but how will I survive out here? I will teach you how to survive, and much more. Those ants will never help you. You must learn without them. I will guide and teach you. It will be hard, and there will be much to learn. The Jubi spoke of the villagers as ants because of their small-mindedness and because it truly despised them. This entity had never cared for anyone until now, choosing to help this boy on its own accord. You'll help me? Why? Why are you so nice to me, Jubi-san? The 5-year-old asked, standing alone in the vast forest. Sit, young one, and do as I say. Naruto obeyed without question. He didn't want to lose the only being that had ever shown him kindness. The Jubi instructed him on how to sit in a meditative pose and how to reach his mindscape, where they first met. Once there, Naruto found himself face to face with the Jubi again, once more awestruck by its sheer size. Do not be afraid, young one. I mean you no harm. Calm yourself and relax. We need to talk. The Jubi lay down before him, its massive form still dwarfing anything Naruto had ever seen. Naruto sat down, but found it difficult to look at the Jubi without straining his neck. Seeing this, the Jubi gently lifted him with one of its tails. Naruto gasped but quickly felt a surprising comfort from the soft, firm tail. Good. Now that you are relaxed, let's begin, the Jubi started. To answer your first question, I saw how they've treated you throughout your life. You did nothing, yet they attacked you out of fear and hate. Being the stupid, mindless ants they are, they could not see you for who you truly are. But before we continue, I must ask you something. You must answer me with complete honesty. Can you do that, young one? Naruto nodded. Yes, Jubi-san. If you had all the power in the world, power so great you could destroy this world, what would you do? Would you destroy everyone in it, or something else? The Jubi phrased the question simply for the 5-year-old's understanding. Naruto was taken aback but understood the question. He thought for a long time, and the Jubi remained patient. To be honest, I don't know what I'd do. I wouldn't destroy the world, though. Even though no one likes me, I wouldn't destroy everything just because people hurt me. He continued, if I had that much power, I'd use it to protect who I want to. It would be my power, right? I don't know much, but I know not everyone deserves to be protected because of the bad things they do. I'd protect those who are precious to me. I would try to create peace, but I'm not stupid. If true peace were possible, I wouldn't have been hurt like this. The Jubi was genuinely surprised. A 5-year-old had given such an honest, mature answer. It could sense his feelings and knew he wasn't lying. While it felt the expected resentment in Naruto toward those who had hurt him, the Jubi was pleased with his response. The entity knew the boy's views would evolve as he grew older. Good. That was an honest answer, and I'm glad you didn't hide anything. Even if you don't know it, I can sense what you feel and know when you or anyone else lies. The Jubi looked at the slightly shocked boy. The reason why I asked that is because of 2 reasons. 1, if you gave the wrong answer and said that you would destroy the world, I would have killed you right now, the One Eye's being said, causing Naruto to gulp at what he was told. Don't worry, young one. From everything I saw and felt from you throughout your life so far, you are unique and I have come to like you. Secondly, the Jubi began once more, seemingly getting more serious than it already was before. I am going to give you the power that I have mentioned. It won't be as a gift, however, as you will have to train for it. For where would the fun be if I just gave you it all without you having to achieve it yourself? The first reason, the Jubi continued, its loan I fixed on Naruto, is that if you had said you'd destroy the world, I would have ended you right there. Naruto swallowed hard, his heart pounding. The Jubi's tone then softened slightly. But don't worry, young one. I've seen and felt your spirit throughout your life, and I find you unique. I've grown to like you. The Jubi's voice grew serious again. Now, for the second reason, I am going to give you the power I mentioned. But it won't be a gift. You'll have to train for it. Where's the fun in a gift if you don't have to earn it yourself? That caused Naruto to look at the entity in front of him in shock. Why you want to give me such power? Why? He asked, very shocked to hear what he just heard. Tears formed in his eyes also, as he had never gotten anything from anyone. Now to hear that someone was willing to give him sure power, seemed very strange to him as he was never one to want power. Naruto stared at the Jubi in disbelief. You want to give me that kind of power? Why? He stammered, tears welling up in his eyes. He had never been given anything before, and the idea that someone would offer him something so immense was both overwhelming and completely foreign to him. He wasn't someone who craved power, which made the offer even more confusing. The Jubi knew that, which is why the huge entity liked the boy even more. Naruto was not power hungry. Although if he got the power to protect someone he loved, then he would do so with his own 2 hands and because he worked for it. The Jubi saw this, and it only deepened its appreciation for the boy. Naruto wasn't driven by a lust for power. He wanted the strength to protect those he cared about, and he was willing to work for it with his own 2 hands. I want to give it to you for another 2 more reasons. Firstly, as I said before, I know your heart, young one. I can feel it. You would not just take the power that is given to you. You would want to have your own power and train yourself to where you want to be. Second, I want to see what you can achieve. I'll only act as a teacher, so to speak. Yet, if you want to, as a partner as well. Now that shocked the young redhead to no end. I'm giving it to you for 2 more reasons, the Jubi explained. First, as I said before, I know your heart. You're not the kind of person to simply accept a gift of power. You'd want to earn it and forge your own path. Second, I want to see what you can achieve. I'll be your teacher, and if you'll have me, your partner too. The last word struck Naruto with a force that left him speechless. Someone already wants to be not only his teacher but also his partner. It made him sob in happiness for a little while, not knowing how to respond to that. A teacher and a partner? The thought sent a wave of happiness through Naruto, and he began to sob uncontrollably, unable to find the words to respond. It is okay to cry, young one. Know that I will never judge you. I am here to help you. It will be the most difficult path anyone has ever taken, but it will be your path. So I'll ask you this. Are you willing to walk this path, Uzumaki Naruto? That was the first time the Jubi used Naruto's name, causing the boy to look up from where he sat while sobbing in happiness as he then answered as best he could in his current state. Hi, Jubi-sensei. It's alright to cry, young one, the Jubi said gently. I won't judge you. I'm here to help. This will be the hardest path anyone has ever taken, but it will be your path. So I ask you, Uzumaki Naruto, are you willing to walk it? The Jubi's use of his full name, a first, made Naruto look up, his face streaked with tears. Hi, Jubi-sensei, he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. If the huge one-eyed being could smile, then Naruto would have seen it. Good, young one. For now, rest. We will continue talking tomorrow as I know you have many questions. Your mind, however, needs rest. So for now, sleep, the Jubi told Naruto, who in return felt how tired he was all of a sudden, most likely from the few things he had learned today and from everything that he went through as well. If the Jubi could have smiled, it would have. Good. Rest now, young one. I know you have many questions, but your mind needs to rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. For now, sleep. The Jubi's words made Naruto suddenly aware of how exhausted he was, a combination of everything he had learned and endured that day. It didn't even take a minute for Naruto to fall asleep, which the Jubi also used to lay down completely as the monstrosity of a being also went to sleep while still being able to sense everything around Naruto up to a very far point. Naruto was asleep in under a minute. The Jubi, too, settled down, its immense body going still as it slept, though its senses extended far beyond Naruto, ever vigilant. We are sorry, Hokage-sama. We found no trace of what could have caused that crater nor what killed those people. We also could not find out who the victims were or how many people were killed because of all the blood that got mixed during what we assume was an attack. An Umbu wearing a bear mask stood in front of his leader, giving him the report after they had finished searching for over 5 hours, to which he had then called off the hunt. Hokage-sama, we're sorry, an Umbu agent in a bear mask reported. After 5 hours of searching, we found no trace of what caused the crater or who the victims were. The blood was so thoroughly mixed we couldn't even determine the number of casualties. The team leader had called off the search. Thank you, Boar. You are all dismissed for now, Hiruzen told them, getting a high and then bowing to their leader in return before all of the Umbu that went looking for whoever it was that destroyed almost an entire training ground earlier, to head back home to rest. Thank you, Boar, Hiruzen replied. You're all dismissed. The Umbu bowed and said, hi, before the team that had been investigating the destruction of the training ground dispersed to get some rest. Knowing he will have a lot to explain the following day, Hiruzen too went home to rest. He didn't want to think of all the paperwork and questions he would receive as that would give him a headache, so he went to bed rather early for him that night, not knowing of what his village had caused and his actions, to a point. Hiruzen knew he had a lot to explain the next day. The thought of the paperwork and endless questions gave him a headache, so he went to bed early. He was oblivious to the true consequences of his village's actions and his own choices. That's a wrap. This line was removed as it appears to be a note from the author, not part of the narrative. The following day Naruto woke up with a bit of a startle, something he was used to because of how he had to survive while living on the streets of Konoha. Looking around him, the red-headed boy quickly remembered everything that happened the previous day. Remembering how his throat was slit, he hastily reached for his throat to feel if he had any scars or if what he remembered truly happened. Naruto woke with a jolt, a habit ingrained from years of living on the streets. As he looked around, the previous day's events flooded back. He quickly brought a hand to his throat, needing to confirm that the memory of his throat being slit was real, and if any scar remained. Feeling nothing, he quickly spoke to the entity he hoped would respond to him. Jubi-sensei, why do I not have any scars and how did I get healed so fast last night? He didn't have to wait long as the monstrous entity spoke up from within his mindscape. Feeling nothing but smooth skin, he immediately called out to the entity he now knew as Jubi. Jubi-sensei, why don't I have any scars? How did I heal so fast? The Jubi's voice was quick to respond from within his mindscape. That would be because of the chakra you have. To make it short and simple, when you were born I fed you my chakra because of how potent and strong it is. So basically, you have my chakra running through you, though it is your own now because I chose to give it to you, the Jubi replied to the red-headed boy, only to continue speaking before the young boy could bombard him with questions. That's because of your chakra, the Jubi explained simply. When you were born, I fed you my own chakra because of its potency. Now, it's yours, and it's what heals you. The Jubi continued speaking before Naruto could interrupt with a barrage of questions. Before I answer any questions you have, start your day, young one. Search for any source of water within this forest and use it to clean yourself and your clothes. Then I'll start teaching you how to hunt for food, the one-eyed entity told Naruto, who did as he was told once more. Before you ask anything else, start your day, the Jubi instructed. Find a source of water in this forest to clean yourself and your clothes. After that, I'll teach you how to hunt for food. Naruto, once again, did as he was told. He stood up from where he had slept, which was against a tree in the middle of the forest of death. Doing what the Jubi said, Naruto began to look for any form of water that he could find. Luckily for him, that search was not long as he found a small river that seemed to run through the massive forest he was in. He got up from where he'd slept, propped against a tree in the middle of the forest of death. Following the Jubi's directions, he began searching for water and soon found a small river winding through the massive woods. Taking off the rags he had on, Naruto got into the small river and started cleaning himself from all the dried up blood that he then remembered was not all only his. That caused him to run towards the ground as fast as he possibly could while running in water, only to throw up what little he had in his stomach when he remembered that he killed people yesterday. Naruto stripped off his rags and waded into the river. As he began to wash the dried blood from his skin, a horrifying thought hit him: it wasn't all his own. He scrambled to the riverbank and immediately threw up, the full weight of killing people the day before crashing down on him. "Let us out, young one," came the voice of the Jubi as Naruto began to cry, believing himself to be a monster for what he did and even more so for how little he saw was left of the people he had killed with that unknown attack. I am a monster," he said while crying softly, only for the Jubi to speak to him once more. "No, young one, you are not. Those ants that you killed were the monsters," he told the young boy, finding it ironic to call humans that he saw as ants monsters when the Jubi himself knew that he most likely looks like a monster rather. "Let it out, young one," the Jubi said softly as Naruto began to cry. Naruto believed he was a monster, especially after remembering how little was left of the people he had killed. I'm a monster," he sobbed. "No, you are not," the Jubi corrected him. "They were the monsters." The Jubi, who saw humans as ants, found the irony in its own words, given its monstrous appearance. "They wanted to kill you when you did nothing to them. They attack you when you don't even talk to anyone, let alone hurt anyone. You also did so in self-defense. Remember, young one, it was kill or be killed in a situation where those ants chose to attack a 5-year-old boy. Do not think of yourself as a monster. You're human and you have emotions just like the rest of your kind," the Jubi concluded, glad to see that Naruto started to sob a little less as he tried to progress what the one-eyed entity just told him. "They wanted to kill you for no reason. They attacked you even though you've never hurt anyone. You acted in self-defense. In that situation, it was kill or be killed, and they chose to attack a 5-year-old boy," the Jubi explained. "You are not a monster. You are human, and you have feelings just like the rest of your kind." Naruto's sobs began to subside as he processed the Jubi's words. Taking a few minutes to be in silence and Naruto taking it to calm down, the red-headed boy thanked the entity that resided within him as he then went to finish what he started, feeling a little better about what he did. After he was done, Naruto washed what he called his clothes in the water as well, putting it back on afterward. After a few minutes of quiet, Naruto thanked the Jubi and, feeling a little better, returned to his task. He finished washing himself, then cleaned his tattered clothes in the river before putting them back on. "Good. Now comes the fun part," the Jubi said, causing Naruto to smile a little when he heard the tone of voice the Jubi said that in, almost sounding a little happy and excited. "This forest has a lot of creatures that could hurt you, so for one, be careful of them for now. I can sense them, so worry not as they are not close by. There is, however, a small animal behind the bush in front of you. This is what you'll have to do." With that, the Jubi began to instruct Naruto on how to start hunting for food. "Good. Now for the fun part," the Jubi said, and its tone, a hint of excitement in its voice, made Naruto smile. "This forest is full of dangerous creatures, so be careful. But don't worry, I can sense them, and none are close. There's a small animal hiding behind that bush. Here's what you'll do." The Jubi began to instruct Naruto on how to hunt. That was the start of something Naruto found not only very hard, but also fun. He had to get a sharp object, then he had to be very sneaky to try and surprise the rabbit that hid behind the bush to try and kill it. Unfortunately for Naruto, the rabbit jumped away from him the second he got too close for the rabbit's comfort and it ran away. Naruto gave chase, wanting to kill the rabbit to eat it. Naruto found hunting to be both incredibly difficult and surprisingly fun. He had to find a sharp object and then sneak up on the rabbit behind the bush. He got too close, though, and the rabbit bolted. Naruto, desperate for food, gave chase. He chased the rabbit for almost 30 minutes before the small creature got attacked by a huge snake, who then devoured the fluffy animal before setting its eyes on Naruto. That, however, did not last even a second as the snake slithered away as fast as it could, seemingly in fear. Confused, Naruto spoke to the Jubi. "What just happened? Why did that thing run away when it was so big?" he asked, not knowing what a snake was nor why it ran away like that. He chased the rabbit for nearly half an hour before a huge snake attacked it. The snake devoured the rabbit, then turned its attention to Naruto. In less than a second, however, the snake slithered away in fear. Confused, Naruto asked the Jubi, "What just happened? Why did that big thing run away?" He had no idea what a snake was or why it would be afraid of him. It was then that the Jubi began to explain to him what a snake was. For starters, then the entity explained that it slithered away in fear because the Jubi had made itself known to the snake, only a little though. The one-eyed being did not want Naruto to have to fight a snake now as well, for the boy was over-malnourished and he needed food as he was still human. The Jubi explained what a snake was and then revealed that it had subtly made its presence known, scaring the creature away. It didn't want Naruto, who was still severely malnourished, to have to fight a snake on top of everything else. He was still human, and he needed food. The Jubi then directed Naruto back towards the lake, telling him that he will have to fish now. The one-eyed being instructed Naruto to get a strong enough stick, a big one as well, so that he could then start using a rock to sharpen it to make a sort of spear. Doing what he was told, Naruto set out to find everything he needed. The Jubi sent Naruto back to the river and told him they would try fishing instead. It instructed him to find a large, sturdy stick and a rock to sharpen it, creating a makeshift spear. Naruto set off to gather the materials. When he got what he needed, Naruto then proceeded to make a spear using a thick stick and a stone by cutting the end of the stick in a way that would sharpen it. He had trouble at first, although the Jubi instructed him on how to do it properly. When he got the result that he needed, Naruto went back to the lake he had been in before. Only this time he went in deeper in and also went upstream as the lake seemed to be originating from most likely a small waterfall. Using the thick stick and the stone, he began to craft the spear. It was difficult at first, but the Jubi guided him through the process. Once he was satisfied with the spear, he returned to the river. He waded in deeper and moved upstream towards what looked like a small waterfall, the source of the river. Eventually, he spotted what he needed, fish, and a lot of them. That was then he began trying to stab them using the spear-like stick he had made. It took him nearly half of the day to finally be able to catch what he needed. It became a little easier after that as he was able to catch 3 big fish after 6 hours. He finally spotted a school of fish. He began to try and spear them, and it took him nearly half a day just to catch the first one. But with that success, it became a bit easier, and within 6 hours, he had caught 3 large fish. By then the red-headed boy was feeling tired, only for the Jubi to then tell him how to make a fire and how to cook the fish he had caught. Following what he was being taught word by word, Naruto eventually had some fish that he could eat. When it was time for him to eat, however, he began to sob slightly. Exhausted, Naruto was then instructed on how to build a fire and cook the fish. Following the Jubi's instructions precisely, he soon had cooked fish ready to eat. As he sat down to eat, he began to sob softly. "Thank you so much, Jubi-sensei," the young boy told the only one he felt that cared for him, even though the massive entity had yet to say those exact words. The Jubi, however, understood why Naruto thanked him. The boy was used to eating rotten food or going without food for long periods of time. Now he was able to eat something he not only caught but also something that he cooked himself. All that was possible because of the enormous entity that told him he resided within his mindscape. "Thank you so much, Jubi-sensei," he said, speaking to the only person he felt truly cared for him, even though the Jubi had never said so. The Jubi understood. Naruto was used to rotten food or going hungry for days. Now he was about to eat something he had caught and cooked himself, all thanks to the massive entity in his mind. Digging in, Naruto had his first taste of food that was not rotten. He couldn't stop sobbing while he ate, as it was the best food he had ever tasted. The Jubi, however, just looked at its host from within him, being able to feel what he truly felt. "I made the right choice. You will become great," young one, the one-eyed entity thought to himself because he could feel how grateful Naruto is. The Jubi's revelation and the first steps of training. "I'm not going to reveal everything just yet," the Jubi's voice echoed in Naruto's mind, its tone a mix of gravitas and paternal care. "Only the fundamental truths. I have granted you both a dojutsu and a Kekkei Genkai. The dojutsu is a dormant power for now, you won't be able to activate it for some time. But your Kekkei Genkai, that has been an active part of you since the moment of your birth." The Jubi went on to explain the nature of dojutsu and Kekkei Genkai, revealing that it was the original creator of most of them. The only one it didn't create, it specified, was the Byakugan, which had originated with the alien lady. The Jubi then described Naruto's own dojutsu, the Rain Sharingan, a unique evolution of its own eye, similar yet distinct in its potential. His birth-given Kekii Genkai, however, was something else entirely. It was a physical ability, a corporeal power that allowed him to heal at an astonishing rate. This was no ordinary ability, it was a first of its kind, dwarfing any other body-healing Kekii Genkai in existence. It was so potent that it didn't require chakra to mend minor cuts or even significant wounds, only needing a burst of the energy to knit together fatal injuries. The young boy was stunned into silence. Seeing his shock, the Jubi explained that while the Kekii Genkai was powerful, he would need to train to truly master it. For now, its incredible efficiency was due to the Jubi's manipulation, but with Naruto now old enough to begin his training, that support would be withdrawn. Naruto, his mind already alight with the possibilities, readily agreed, eager to take control of his own abilities. With all the necessary information conveyed, the Jubi declared it was time for Naruto to rest. They had a long day ahead. Naruto wanted to ask more questions, but as he exited his mindscape, the true weight of his physical exhaustion hit him. All the new information had overwhelmed the 5-year-old boy. Without a moment's hesitation, he simply lay down where he sat and fell asleep instantly. The beginning of a new life. Life for Naruto was forever altered after that day. The path ahead was difficult, but in a way that would forge him into something greater. The Jubi began his training in earnest. The first step was to unlock his chakra, a process Naruto accomplished with surprising ease. As he did so, the Jubi took a precautionary measure, hiding Naruto's chakra signature so that no one could track him. It promised to teach him how to do this himself when the time was right. Once his chakra was unlocked, the Jubi shifted his focus. It had Naruto concentrate on honing his hunting skills. The reason for this, his sensei explained, was tied directly to his Kekii Genkai. To truly work its magic, his body needed proper nourishment. He needed to eat more to grow strong. This was a prerequisite for all other training, as his body, in its current state, wouldn't have been able to handle the physical demands, even with his healing ability. Naruto complied, dedicating himself to becoming a more skilled hunter. He focused on eating more, and in doing so, he learned everything his body needed to flourish. This meant studying plants, berries, and all the edible things the land had to offer. The Jubi, in turn, was a perfect teacher. When Naruto asked how it knew so much, the Jubi revealed that its knowledge came not only from its ancient existence but also from the collective memories it had absorbed when it was reformed from the previous 9-tailed beasts. Within a single week, and with the aid of his Kekii Genkai, Naruto overcame the years of malnourishment. He gained enough weight to finally look like a healthy, normal 5-year-old boy. The road to chakra control. Next came the part Naruto truly enjoyed, physical exercise. The Jubi instructed him to build his stamina, a quality he already possessed in abundance from his time running from villagers, and from another Kekii Genkai he was born with. When the red-headed boy asked what this new ability was called, the Jubi simply told him to refer to it as his Uzumaki blood for the time being, promising to reveal more as his training progressed. After 3 months of relentless, daily exercise, the Jubi announced he was ready for the next phase. Today, I will begin teaching you to control your chakra, young one. This skill is critical, and it will likely take you a long time to achieve even a moderate level of mastery, as your chakra is incredibly potent. But there is one catch, the Jubi spoke, holding Naruto's complete attention. What's the catch, Jubi-sensei? The young boy asked. You must do 2 things. The first is to train your chakra control to such a degree that you can unlock your Rain Sharingan. Normally, a dojutsu doesn't require this level of control. Yours, however, demands an immense amount of chakra mastery to be activated. The Jubi paused for a moment before continuing. But that isn't the real catch. You must achieve this before your 6th birthday, or you will never be able to unlock your dojutsu. Your chakra is growing stronger every single day. If you don't gain enough mastery to unlock your dojutsu by then, you won't ever be able to become a shinobi. This statement hit Naruto with the force of a blow, almost making him lose his footing. What? How? Why? He stammered, his voice filled with alarm. By then, you will possess so much chakra that no amount of training could ever be enough. The reason you must unlock your dojutsu is that it grants absolute chakra control to its user, regardless of how much chakra they have. That is why you will be training in chakra control every single day for the next year, the one-eyed entity told the 5-year-old, whose eyes were wide with disbelief. Shaking off his shock, Naruto's expression shifted to a determined smile. He vowed to the Jubi that he would succeed no matter what. He was now excited not only by the training but by the prospect of unlocking his own Rain Sharingan, an eye the Jubi had described as having no equal. Naruto was also surprised by the sheer amount of chakra he was said to have. It was confusing, as the Jubi hadn't told him everything yet. The one-eyed entity had promised to reveal more on his 6th birthday, and to help him learn something he had always wanted to do, read and write. He was told that on his next birthday, he would have to go back to Konoha to learn from the books there. Naruto couldn't fathom how that would be possible, given how he was treated. The Jubi's only response was, "Don't worry, I'll show you when we get there," a vague but reassuring answer that was good enough for him. The Path of Mastery. For the next several months, Naruto's skills as a hunter continued to improve, and he learned more with each passing month about the nutrition his body needed. He also delved deep into his chakra control training, which began in a way he had not anticipated. After unlocking his chakra, he was told to mold it onto his feet to climb a tree without using his hands. It seemed impossible at first. It took him an entire month just to get stuck on the tree after taking a single step. 3 months later, he finally managed to reach the middle of the tree. Another month passed before he finally made it to the very top, using only his chakra. He was ecstatic about his accomplishment, only to be told by his sensei that this was the easy part. What followed was far more challenging and took even longer to grasp: water walking. For the first 3 weeks, he couldn't even stand on the water, no matter how little chakra he used. It was only a week later that he finally made a small breakthrough, managing to stand on the water with one foot for a few seconds before losing control and falling in. 3 months after that, he finally gained enough chakra control to stand on the water and even walk on it for a few minutes. Anything more than that was impossible, and the Jubi told him it was good enough. The Jubi knew any more would be impossible for him no matter how long he trained. He was also incredibly lucky, as his 6th birthday was now drawing very close. The final step and the Rincharingan's activation. Good, young one. Now comes the part where you need to be very careful, or you will lose your eyes forever, the Jubi's voice rumbled, causing Naruto to gulp in nervousness. He knew that one mistake here and it was over. He would lose his dojutsu, and the Jubi had made it clear that because of his powerful chakra, he would not be able to become a shinobi if he failed. The Jubi explained that if it tried to intervene, Naruto could die. This had confused the boy once, but the Jubi had clarified that while it could do almost anything, its chakra was too potent for Naruto's body to handle directly, even with his healing Kekkei Genkai. This knowledge fueled Naruto's resolve, and he trained with a fierce determination. He sat on the ground next to the small lake he had practiced on for almost a year. He calmed his breathing and did exactly as the Jubi had instructed. Control your chakra, young one, using as little as you possibly can. Then, direct that chakra toward your eyes. He did just that, but the Jubi's voice returned. There is one more thing I forgot to mention. Your eyes won't look entirely like mine at first. You'll have a weaker version, with a different color. Also, once you activate them, they will never be able to be turned off. Don't worry, though, they won't continuously drain your chakra unless you are using their abilities, or new abilities you create in the future. This was a shock to Naruto. I'm about to lose my current eyes then, he asked, and the Jubi's quick reply was simply, so to speak, yes. While Naruto had grown fond of his violet eyes, he didn't truly care, as he had no one to share them with but the Jubi. With his resolve hardened, Naruto focused on his chakra once more. He used the minimal amount he had so much control over and directed the flow toward his eyes. When the chakra reached its destination, Naruto fell to his knees, screaming in agony and clutching his face. Oh, crap. I forgot to tell him that it would hurt, the Jubi thought to itself as Naruto's screams continued for a few moments before he collapsed onto the ground, groaning. What happened, Jubi-sensei? Why did it hurt so much? It felt like my eyes were going to explode, Naruto rasped out. The Jubi took a beat too long to reply for Naruto's liking. Jubi-sensei? Yeah, I kinda forgot to mention that part, the Jubi replied nonchalantly, causing Naruto to erupt in a way he never had before. He yelled at the ancient entity, Sensei. That's just cruel. The Jubi, for the first time in its existence, began to laugh at Naruto's outburst, finding his display of emotion deeply amusing. Don't worry, young one. That was the only pain you had to endure. Now, go look at your reflection in the water. Naruto grumbled under his breath, muttering about his stupid sensei. The Jubi's smile widened internally. Naruto was still a child at heart, a fact that had been stolen from him. It was a painful truth, but the Jubi knew Naruto was strong enough to overcome it and to fulfill his destiny. Reaching the edge of the water, Naruto peered at his reflection. What he saw made him completely forget his anger. Staring back at him were not his old violet eyes. The entire sclera of each eye was now a deep purple, with a small pupil at the center and a ripple pattern spreading outward across the iris. There was also a single tomo in each eye, just as the Jubi had described. He also noticed a subtle glow emanating from his new eyes, visible only up close. Wow, they are beautiful, the redhead said. That they are, young one. They are also incredibly powerful, which is something we must hide for now, the entity warned him, causing Naruto to stand up straight. The Jubi continued without giving Naruto a chance to ask a question. There are forces in this world that would do anything to possess your eyes. They would try to kill you just for what they are capable of. I'm going to teach you a very simple jutsu that you will use to hide your eyes, making them appear as they did before. In time, you will need to learn a different, more advanced technique to hide them until you are strong enough to defend yourself. This jutsu will only be able to hide them in their current form for now. I will explain the different forms you can achieve a bit later. For now, do as I say. Also, know that you have excellent chakra control now. Not perfect yet, but with your eyes, you now have the key to achieving perfect chakra control, as they will help you in more ways than one. The Jubi finished, teaching him the simple genjutsu that would hide his eyes even from the Byakugan and the base Sharingan. It was only temporary, however, and would not fool an advanced Sharingan or a master Byakugan user. Naruto's first attempt at using the new technique, guided by the Jubi's mental images, was a complete success. A wave of happiness washed over him. He stared at his reflection in the water, his normal violet eyes gazing back as if the transformation had never happened. Wow, that's so cool, Jubi-sensei. What's next? He asked, a burning eagerness to learn in his voice. Naruto noticed the difference in his vision but decided to save his questions for later. He trusted that the Jubi would eventually teach him everything about his eyes. He didn't need their full power now, he just needed to unlock the ability to continue training with his chakra, a prospect that filled him with excitement. First, send a small amount of chakra to your eyes again to restore your normal sight, the Jubi instructed from within. We'll discuss your new vision another time. Naruto complied, and his familiar world returned to normal. Good. For your next lesson, you'll need to sneak into that building. Every city seems to have the one called a library. We can't risk being seen, so you must remain undetected. Once inside, you'll borrow the books I tell you to get. The Jubi deliberately used the word borrow, a subtle act of defiance against the world that had stolen so much from the boy. The entity reasoned that it was only fair for Naruto to take what he needed, especially for an education that should have been his by right. Okay, Jubi-sensei, Naruto replied simply, already taking off in a run. He knew exactly where the library was, it had been a frequent hiding spot during his many chases. The journey took all day. The Jubi directed him out of the forest and kept a constant vigil, sensing for anyone who might spot the boy. Though the entity could sense the entire elemental nations, it knew a full power scan would risk attracting unwanted attention from shinobi to Naruto's potent chakra. The Jubi wanted Naruto to sneak in at night, when the library would be closed. Following the entity's instructions, Naruto hid near the building and waited for the sun to set. When night fell, a new problem arose: he couldn't see. With no moon and no light, the area was shrouded in darkness. How could he find books in this blackness? He prepared to ask the Jubi, but his sensei had already anticipated the issue. Young one, use a small amount of chakra for your dojutsu again, the Jubi commanded. Confused but obedient, Naruto did as he was told. Suddenly, the world became bright, as if the sun had never set. His confusion turned to a deeper curiosity about his eyes, but the Jubi quickly reminded him of their mission and the need for haste. Using the stealth he'd honed from a childhood of hiding, Naruto, with the Jubi's help, found a small window at the back of the library. He managed to break it and slip inside without making a sound. He waited for a few tense minutes while the Jubi confirmed that no one had heard the breaking glass. Once they were in the clear, Naruto began searching. He was amazed at how easily his eyes allowed him to see in the dark, a feat that would have been impossible without them. Through Naruto's eyes, the Jubi scanned the shelves, looking for what they needed. Naruto, who couldn't read, felt a pang of sadness. The Jubi immediately picked up on his feelings. Don't worry, young one, that will change soon. Not only will you learn to read and write now, but you'll also learn advanced writing from what I'm about to show you, the Jubi said. The word advanced caught Naruto's attention. What do you mean, Jubi-sensei? Naruto asked, his confusion clear. I'll explain, but don't ask any more questions for now. We don't have much time before someone notices the broken window. This is a shinobi village, after all, they have patrols everywhere. The Jubi's contempt for humans was evident as it referred to them as ants, a habit Naruto had grown accustomed to. When Naruto agreed to the terms, the Jubi continued. The art you'll learn, and I believe you'll love, is called fuinjutsu. It requires great skill in writing. That's all for now. Keep looking at the books, and I'll tell you which ones to take. Naruto, now referring to the Jubi as the big guy, hurried through the shelves, his eyes scanning for the titles his teacher pointed out. It didn't take long to find their first book, children's book A to Z. Next came children's book, writing, followed by a dictionary, and a small children's storybook. With 4 books in his arms, the maximum he could carry, Naruto headed for the exit. He scaled the back wall with expert chakra control, a skill he was quickly mastering, and carefully squeezed through the broken window. The books made his exit slightly more difficult, but he managed without a hitch. The Jubi's senses remained on high alert, confirming they were alone. Naruto ran back toward the forest, his heart pounding but his steps silent. He was thankful for the late hour, which kept most civilians indoors, and for the Jubi's guidance, which helped him evade the shinobi patrols. Upon reaching his training spot by the lake, the Jubi spoke again. Don't put the books down yet. I want you to find a better place to sleep. Look for a cave, or a tree with a hollow bottom you can use as a home. 30 minutes later, Naruto found a small cave hidden behind a wall of thorny bushes. It was the perfect find unoccupied, and its natural defense system made it even better. He placed his new books against the wall, grateful for his Rincharingan's ability to pierce the cave's darkness. Exhausted but content, he laid down and, after a simple goodnight to the Jubi, fell into a deep sleep. This was the true beginning of Naruto's education. Deprived of a normal childhood and basic learning, he not only had to fight for what he wanted but was also being taught by an entity more powerful than any being who had ever lived. In the Jubi, he found a friend, a teacher, and a partner, something he was eternally grateful for. He showed his gratitude not with words, but with hard work and dedication. Each day, he diligently learned the alphabet, writing letters with a stick in the sand. Time passed, and soon he needed more reading material. He returned to the library, successfully borrowing new books and returning the first storybook he had finished. He even began reading the dictionary to expand his vocabulary. Meanwhile, the Jubi introduced him to chakra control exercises. Tree walking and water walking came naturally to him. He then moved on to chakra balancing, using his dojutsu to master the stick balancing exercise in just 2 weeks. After a year, he was fluent in both reading and writing. When he was ready to learn Fuinjutsu, the Jubi explained that he would need special equipment. On his 7th birthday, the Jubi revealed even more. Naruto's eyes gained another tomo, while remaining purple. It was on this day that the Jubi decided to teach him how to use his eyes and reveal the truth about his past. "Young one, it is time for you to learn everything that has been hidden from you," the Jubi announced. "I know you can handle it. Get comfortable and come in here so we can talk." Eager to learn the truth, Naruto entered his mindscape, taking his usual seat on the Jubi's tail. "Okay, Jubi-sensei. What did you want to tell me? This will be a lot, so just bear with me," the Jubi replied. "When I'm finished, you can ask all the questions you want or vent any anger you might feel." Naruto nodded, ready to listen. The first revelation was the one Naruto had always yearned for, the identity of his parents. Learning that his father was the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, the very man who had sealed the Kyuubi inside him, sparked a powerful rage. The Jubi calmly explained that his father had acted with the best intentions but had placed his trust in the wrong people. Needing to release his anger, Naruto screamed into the forest, a sound the Jubi ensured no one would hear. "How could he?" Naruto yelled, calming down only after a few minutes. The Jubi then explained the true reason for the Kyuubi's attack: the beast had been controlled. This new information calmed Naruto's rage, replacing it with a fresh wave of anger toward the person who had orchestrated everything. He was quickly reminded of everything he had endured, which, paradoxically, made him even more thankful for his sensei's guidance, bringing him to tears once again. Accepting the truth and refraining from questions as instructed, Naruto waited for his teacher to continue. While the identity of his father brought a mix of pain and acceptance, the story of his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, the red hot-blooded habanero, brought a new sense of pride. He learned that the Uzumaki clan had been destroyed by other villages that feared their mastery of Fuinjutsu. "So they destroyed my clan because they were afraid of them. Then I will bring back Fuinjutsu for my clan, even though I never knew them," Naruto declared with newfound pride. He had promised himself and the Jubi that he would not let his anger turn to hatred, and he kept that promise. The Jubi explained that it knew all of this from the memories of the previous 9-tailed beasts. This confirmed that the Jubi's plan to reform itself was a long-held one, gathering the memories of the fragmented beasts over time. An unexpected inheritance and a grave warning. The young redhead's heart was a battlefield of conflicting emotions. On one hand, a simmering resentment for his father brewed within him. On the other, his mother commanded not only his complete respect but a profound, overwhelming love that had him on the verge of tears. He found it cruelly ironic that he was given her presence for so long, only to have a revelation tear it away, a truth so shocking it nearly brought him to his knees. "Naruto, your parents left behind a great deal for you, but your mother's legacy is far more significant. All of their worldly possessions, everything they owned, is yours. The Kyuubi, my former host and a part of your mother's essence, Rita will through her eyes just before she was separated from me. I can lead you to its location when you're ready. We must be exceptionally cautious, however, as it's a deeply concealed place and may be patrolled by those who knew your father." The Jubi's words were a steady anchor for the still sobbing boy. Naruto nodded, the grief momentarily eclipsed by a desperate desire to see what his mother, and to some extent, his father, had left for him. The Jubi's tone grew even more somber, a palpable weight that Naruto felt deep within his core. "Young one, what I am about to tell you is far more crucial than your inheritance. You must never, under any circumstances, reveal any of this information to anyone, not even a future Hokage, unless you have absolute, unwavering trust in them and know with certainty that they will keep your secret. Do you understand?" Naruto, shaken by the gravity of the Jubi's words, affirmed that he did. The entity continued. "You already know what your eyes are called and that no other dojutsu in existence can compare to them, even in their current state. But I want you to understand that you must never rely on them as your sole source of power. I believe you've already learned this lesson well." The boy simply nodded, his full attention on his sensei. "Now, regarding the tomo in your eyes and their continuous appearance, you should know that I designed them this way for you. Consider them levels of power. Each time a new tomo manifests, your strength increases, and you unlock new abilities. The maximum number you can achieve is 9 tomo in each eye. The first 2 tomo are the easiest to unlock, requiring only an increase in your chakra capacity and enhanced control. I'll explain their specific abilities later. The third tomo, however, is a more significant challenge. To unlock it, you'll need not only a greater reserve of chakra but also a substantial increase in raw power, reaching the level of a Jonin, a rank that mirrors the power of a fully matured Sharingan. The Jubi paused, letting the information sink in before continuing. The tomo that follow will be far more demanding. From that point on, you will unlock only 1 tomo per eye at a time, and you'll need to unlock a corresponding tomo in the other eye to progress further until you have all 9. The final 2 tomo are nearly impossible to obtain, but I have faith in you, young one. When you unlock those last tomo, you won't only become stronger, you'll also receive a surprise from me. Naruto's face lit up with a determined smile. The Jubi's words made his training feel like an exhilarating game, a challenge he was ready to embrace with both seriousness and excitement. I hope I'm worthy of this, sensei. I promise I will do my very best. I know you will, young one. You'll simply have to train harder than anyone has ever trained before. It would be beneficial to have a training partner, someone you can trust, although I doubt that will happen anytime soon. The people in that village don't deserve your trust. They would most likely try to use you once you reveal your power, especially when they learn that your abilities cannot be stolen or passed on. I'm referring to the Rhine Sharingan, of course. The mention of the Rhine Sharingan confused the redhead, and he immediately voiced his question. What do you mean by that, Jubi-sensei? Anticipating the question, the Jubi clarified, it means that if you have children one day, they will not inherit your eyes or your unique chakra. But this is not a topic for us to discuss now, you are far too young for such things. Despite his burning curiosity, Naruto's eagerness was tempered by the Jubi's firm refusal to discuss the matter further due to his age. Accepting the Jubi's wisdom, Naruto left his mindscape, his sensei instructing him that it was time to continue his lessons and delve into other subjects. 8 years old and a new encounter. Today was Naruto's 8th birthday, and he was overflowing with happiness. After his last conversation with his sensei, the boy had plunged into his rigorous training with even greater zeal. Each day, he pushed his body to its absolute limit, collapsing in utter exhaustion from the Jubi's demanding exercises. He had spent the past year refining his already exceptional chakra control. This was a crucial aspect of his training, as his chakra reserves were growing exponentially, fueled by both his intense exercises and his diet of foraged food from the forest. Naruto had visited his parents' home only once. He hadn't dared to enter, put off by the constant patrols of shinobi he observed every few hours. It seemed no one else could enter either, which he initially believed was out of respect for the 4th Hokage and his wife. The Jubi, however, enlightened him, explaining that his parents had likely placed a powerful fuinjutsu on the house, requiring his own blood to unlock it. Deep within the Forest of Death, Naruto had also begun to learn how to fight. He actively sought out creatures to spar against, a surprisingly easy task given the forest's massive, predatory inhabitants. He trained without his eyes or chakra, focusing on increasing his speed and the raw power of his strikes. The Jubi had forbidden him from using chakra to enhance his physical abilities just yet, as he was still too inexperienced. Eventually, the Jubi presented Naruto with a gift in their shared mindscape, a unique fighting style crafted from the entity's immense knowledge. While the style had only ever existed in the Jubi's mind, the entity insisted that Naruto take credit for its creation. Though initially reluctant, Naruto eventually accepted the generous gift. Training in his own taijutsu style became second nature to him, a natural extension of his movements. While he had the creatures of the Forest of Death to spar against, the Jubi insisted that he would need to fight against another person to truly advance. Naruto accepted that he would eventually need to find a friend, someone other than the Jubi, who would be with him forever. However, he remained hesitant, his trust shattered by the village he had been forced to flee. To help him, the Jubi taught him a skill inherited from the Kyubi, the ability to sense negative emotions in people. The young boy also began learning how to sense chakra, an ability he took to with the natural ease of a fish in water, just like every other lesson his sensei taught him. The Jubi also revealed that one day, Naruto would inherit all the powers and abilities of the previous tailed beasts, and then some. The revelation was strange to the young boy, who couldn't comprehend what he would do with so much power. The Jubi assured him that he would figure it out, recognizing him as a smart boy, not a power-hungry one. In this time, Naruto had also grown significantly. He now stood at 4 feet 3 inches, 131 centimeters, a notable height for an 8-year-old. He wore a red t-shirt and blue shorts, a second-hand find from a lost and found basket in the village library. His hair had grown long and spiky, reaching just below his shoulders, and its fiery red hue had become even more vibrant. He had considered cutting it, but the Jubi had suggested that he might one day learn a jutsu that uses hair, either for offense or defense. Inspired by the idea, he let his hair grow, even if it looked a bit unkempt from living in the forest. A surprise encounter in the woods. Naruto was enjoying a bath in the nearby river, his clothes resting on a tree stump a few feet away. After cleaning himself, he quickly climbed out, eager to continue training in his taijutsu style. He was in the process of pulling on his shorts, confident that he was alone with the Jubi dormant inside him, when he suddenly heard a sharp gasp. He instantly adopted a defensive stance, his senses on high alert. "Who's there? Show yourself," he demanded, his voice serious. A burst of laughter was his only reply before an older woman with wild, purple hair emerged from behind a tree. As he was about to speak again, a second woman stepped out beside her. This woman had messy black hair, a similar style of clothing, and piercing red eyes. Naruto's fighting stance faltered slightly, his mouth falling open in awe of her striking gaze. The two women scoffed at his reaction, assuming he was just another pervert, especially given his age. Great, another one, the red-eyed woman thought, her expression hardening. And so young. What is happening to this world? She was about to reprimand him when he spoke first. "Wow, you have beautiful eyes," he said, a genuine smile on his face. He then immediately snapped back into his defensive stance, a serious look replacing the smile. His words stunned both women. He complimented my eyes, the red-eyed woman thought, surprised. He didn't look at me like everyone else does. Both she and her purple-haired companion noticed the seriousness in his eyes, and a sense of caution settled over them. Who is this boy, and what is he doing in the forest of death? They wondered in unison. "Hey, kid, what are you doing out here?" the purple-haired woman asked, momentarily forgetting his earlier threat. Naruto's expression grew even more serious, a hint of anger flashing in his eyes. "I live here. What about you two? Are you here to kill me?" he asked, his words shocking them both. "Impossible. No one can live here," the purple-haired woman thought. "This place kills people just for entering it." Both women's minds raced, registering the sheer absurdity of his claim. Their astonishment turned to concern when they processed his final question. "Why would we want to kill you? And how can you possibly live here? Do you even know what this place is called?" the purple-haired woman pressed, her curiosity now fully piqued. "Because you wouldn't be the first from that village who wanted to," Naruto replied, his voice devoid of any emotion. "I live here because I had to. It was either this or die at the hands of people who were blind with hatred. And no, I don't know what this place is called, nor do I care. I know what's in this forest, and they're more scared of me than I am of them." He kept his eyes locked on them, his senses on high alert for any sudden movements. The Jubi, however, remained fast asleep. His answers left the women speechless. They looked at his dirty clothes and unkempt hair, a clear sign that he had been living in the wilderness. He still hadn't put on his shirt, and they could see the slight but undeniable musculature of a boy who had to fend for himself. "Let's just calm down," the red-eyed woman said, her voice a calm, melodic contrast to the tense atmosphere. "We're not here to fight. My friend and I are just looking for a place to train. We apologize if we gave you the wrong impression. We mean you no harm." Naruto found himself captivated by the sound of her voice. He quickly used the skill the Jubi had taught him to sense their intentions. Finding no malice, he relaxed his stance and stood straight. "All right, I'll believe you for now," he said. "If you want to fight some creatures, I suggest heading that way. There are plenty of them there." He pointed westward. "Wait, you fight them?" the purple-haired woman nearly shouted, her disbelief evident. "Those monsters are bigger than you." "Yeah, I do," he said simply. "It's a little hard to train by yourself." His words only deepened their shock. They were about to respond, but he had already moved to where his shirt was. He quickly put it on and started to walk away. "Wait," the red-eyed woman called out. "Why don't you come with us? It's not safe here, even if you can fight the beasts. We can help you, and I'm sure our Hokage would want to know about all of this." Naruto froze. Naruto glanced back, his eyes meeting the red-eyed woman's. "I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. I'm not going back there, at least not right now. That place never did anything but hurt me. I don't trust anyone, including your Hokage, though I doubt he even remembers me." He gave them a curt nod. "You two take care." In the blink of an eye, he was gone. Both women were stunned into silence, not just by his words, but by his incredible speed. "Anko, was that real, or did you put a genjutsu on me?" the purple-haired woman asked, still wide-eyed with disbelief. "That was no genjutsu," the red-eyed woman, Kurane, replied, her expression grave. "He's very mature for his age, and so young-looking. We need to find out who he is." "What he said sounds familiar," Anko mused, a thoughtful look on her face. They both had faint memories of a boy in Konoha who had been treated like garbage, the curse of Konoha, as he was sometimes called. They had heard he vanished, but never knew the details. Shaken, they continued their original mission, to train in the forest of death. As they went deeper, Kurane couldn't stop thinking about the boy, captivated by his hair. "Red is my favorite color," she thought. "Who was that? I need to find out, and soon. For someone so young to be living in this place." Her thoughts swirled with a mix of curiosity and concern. Anko, meanwhile, watched her friend. A smirk played on her lips, unseen by Korone. The Ice Queen of Konoha, interested in a boy she just met? That's rare, she thought. What he said was intriguing, and finding someone who lives out here is exciting, but you've clearly taken a liking to him. She jumped from tree to tree, a mischievous grin on her face. Whoever you are, boy, we'll meet again. Sooner than you think. Naruto, meanwhile, had returned to his cave, making sure he hadn't been followed. He knew this day would come. The forest was Konoha property after all. He just didn't expect it so soon. He still needed to train. He also didn't want to live in the forest forever. He had goals, a future he wanted to build for himself. The two women running into him wasn't a total surprise, but he was wary. I hope they don't try to attack me like the others did, he thought. I'm not putting up with that crap anymore. He lay down and closed his eyes, drifting off to sleep. Part 2, the second meeting. A month passed. True to his word, Naruto didn't know the forest's name, or that shinobi sometimes trained there. He had always assumed people stayed away because of its dark nature and dangerous creatures. He could sense people from time to time, but they never ventured inside. During the past month, Naruto focused on his sensing abilities. He meditated for hours, then practiced his taijutsu, and finally hunted for food. He fought any creature that dared to attack him, and there were many. Today was another warm day in Konoha, but the forest's dense canopy provided plenty of shade. Naruto was walking toward a secluded waterfall, a place he loved for its peaceful solitude. He chose to walk instead of jumping through the trees, giving him time to hone his senses. He could now sense everything in the forest and could even expand his senses to cover almost all of Konoha, but he always chose not to. He had no desire to feel the negative emotions of a village that brought him nothing but pain. He could, however, sense a distinct chakra signature following him. He knew exactly who it was. He stopped dead in his tracks and turned, looking up into the branches of a large tree. "You can stop following me, lady," he said calmly, his arms crossed. "I don't know why you're here, but I don't like it. It feels like you're about to attack." He heard a slight gasp, and the red-eyed woman, Korone, jumped down from the tree. "How did you know I was following you?" she asked, a look of surprise on her face. "Don't you have censor shinobi in your village?" Naruto replied, tilting his head slightly. Korone's eyes widened. "Why, you're a censor? How? Who trained you?" "First, yes, I'm a censor," he said, his voice firm. "Second, I don't have to answer questions from a stranger. I don't even know your name, or why you've been following me." He paused, his expression serious. "Unless you plan to attack me, I'm going to assume this is just an unwelcome visit." Korone looked at him, her heart aching. He's so young, she thought, and yet he's already so guarded. Something terrible must have happened to him. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to startle you. My friend and I were just worried about you, since you told us you live out here. I certainly don't mean to attack you." She offered a warm, genuine smile. "My name is Ui Korone. It's nice to officially meet you." Naruto could sense her sincerity, and his defensive stance relaxed. He bowed slightly, a courtesy his sensei had taught him. "It's nice to meet you, Korone-san. I'm Uzumaki Naruto." The moment he said his name, Korone's eyes went wide. She knew that name. More specifically, she knew the Uzumaki part. She brought a hand to her mouth, tears welling up in her eyes. "Naruto? Uzumaki Naruto?" Naruto simply nodded. Korone began to sob, her shoulders shaking. Naruto had no idea what to do, but he waited patiently for her to compose herself. When she finally spoke, her voice was choked with emotion. "I know this must be strange for you," she said, wiping away her tears, "but I knew your mother." Naruto's curiosity was piqued. "You knew my Kaa-chan?" he asked. "How?" "She was very precious to me," Korone said, a fond smile on her face. "She wasn't my sensei, but she taught me so much. My friend you saw before, and another friend all became very close to her." She took a deep breath. Her name was Uzumaki Kushina. She was one of the strongest women of her time. "This must be a lot to hear, and I'm sorry to be the one to." Naruto cut her off. "You don't need to be sorry. I already know who my parents were. As for how I found out, that's something I can't say." Korone was shocked. "I see. Well, I won't press you." She looked down, a sad expression on her face. "We thought you were dead, Naruto. My friends and I looked for you a long time ago. Even the Hokage looked for you. We never found a single trace." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "People looked for me?" His voice was cold. "You're joking. No one cared. I was chased into this forest by the very people of that village. People who tried to kill me. So don't pretend you all cared all of a sudden." His anger was palpable, though he tried to keep it under control. He was, after all, only an 8-year-old boy. Korone was stunned. She had no idea the orphanage had thrown him out, or that he had been hunted. "I failed her," she thought, tears streaming down her face. I failed you, Kushina-sama. Naruto continued, his voice heavy with bitterness. What did they call me? Oh, yeah, the curse of Konoha, demon brat. I believe you knew my Kaa-chan, Korone-san, but I don't believe anyone ever cared about me. He took a deep, calming breath. It was a long time ago. I'm over it now. Korone's sobs intensified. I'm so sorry, Naruto. I truly am. I should have looked for you, but I was always on missions, never had much time for myself. I know that's not an excuse. I should have been there for you. She looked at him, her eyes pleading. I know we don't know each other, and I know you don't trust anyone, and I don't deserve this, and your mother will probably kill me in the afterlife. She paused, a small smile appearing through her tears, which made Naruto's lips twitch into a smile of his own. But if it's okay with you, Naruto, can we be friends? Naruto was utterly shocked. She wasn't making excuses, she was taking responsibility. And she was asking him for something he had wanted for a very long time. To be his friend. He had always believed he would be met with nothing but hatred. But now, because of what the Jubi had taught him, he could sense that her question was genuine. It was not a trap. It was not a lie. After thinking for a few minutes, Korone saw that Naruto's composure was starting to break. He had been holding back his emotions for a long time, but now, he'd had enough. Although he tried to keep his tears in, his body betrayed him. Tears began to form in his eyes, which were still hidden behind his genjutsu. Seeing this, Korone did something Naruto didn't expect. She moved quickly, kneeling down and pulling him into a hug before he could even react. Naruto froze, stiff from the contact, as tears started to roll down his cheeks. Korone noticed his stiffness, but she didn't let go. Please, Naruto-kun, give me a chance to be your friend, she said, her voice soft. I don't know the pain you've suffered, but I want you to know this isn't a trap. Tears welled up in her own eyes for the third time that hour, something she wasn't used to. She managed to hold them back, however, as she continued to hold him. It felt like an eternity before Naruto finally hugged her back, sobbing quietly. He couldn't believe this woman was showing him such affection, especially after they had just met. Oh okay, Korone-san. We can be friends, he choked out. Korone hugged him a little tighter, careful not to hurt him. Thank you, she whispered. After a moment, they separated. Korone didn't realize that not only had she become Naruto's very first friend, but she was also the first person he could remember ever hugging him. Korone stood up and looked at the young boy. Do you mind if I stay with you for the day? I'd like to get to know you a little better, if that's okay, she asked, hoping she wasn't being too pushy. Naruto gave her a small smile and nodded. Sure, I don't mind. I was on my way to clean up before you got here, but that can wait. He felt a bit strange and was slightly on edge, still not fully trusting her. He didn't know how friendships were supposed to work. Korone noticed his wariness and felt a pang of sadness. She reminded herself that he had been alone for a long time and his trust would need to be earned. She was more than willing to do that. Looking at him more closely, she saw that his clothes were torn and he was dirty. Are you sure? She asked. I can wait if you want to go clean yourself first. She wondered where he would even go since he was walking away from the river she knew about. Naruto thought for a second and then smiled a little. Okay, if you don't mind waiting. I'll be fast. He felt a strange new feeling, a desire to spend time with her and get to know her. Maybe that's what friendship is, he wondered to himself. Suddenly, a voice spoke in his mind. It was the Jubi, his sensei. She's an interesting one. I'm glad you finally have a friend other than me. I can sense she has no ill intentions. Perhaps she can be your sparring partner. You'll also need to go to Uzashigakure soon, but we'll talk about that later. The mention of his mother's birthplace confused Naruto, but he put it aside for now. He started walking toward his original destination. Korone was shocked when she saw him walk straight up the mountain wall using chakra. Either someone taught him that, or he's a genius, she thought, quickly running after him. She was curious where he was headed. Mind if I tag along, she asked, and he simply nodded. They soon reached a waterfall, and Korone stared in wonder. Getting there had been difficult due to the thorny bushes at the entry point. Naruto had told her not to destroy them, both out of a love for nature and a desire to keep the spot a secret. Korone was pleased that he had shared this with her. She wanted to ask him so many questions, but she knew she had to take it slow to avoid him pulling away. When they reached dry ground, Naruto took off his clothes and set them aside. Korone respectfully turned her back to give him privacy. Naruto quickly washed himself with the water and then used his chakra to dry off, a technique he had taught himself. When he was done, he said, I'm done, Korone-san. She turned around and saw that he looked a little cleaner, though not by much. She guessed it was because he didn't have any soap. She felt a bit awkward, unsure how to proceed. She'd never had a male friend, especially not one so young. I don't know how this really works, as I've never had a friend before, Naruto began, carefully omitting any mention of the Jubi. Do you maybe want to spar with me? I'm training to become a shinobi, and as you've probably noticed, I know how to use chakra. I'm focusing on taijutsu right now, and to get better, I need a sparring partner, right? You don't have to if you don't want to. He spoke with a nervous tone he had never used before. Kurane was surprised by his proposal. She felt sad that he had been alone for so long, but she was also glad to be his first friend. She wasn't an expert in taijutsu, but she knew enough to be a jonin. Sure, Naruto, I don't mind sparring with you at all. I have to warn you though, I'm not that good at it, but I can help you improve. She believed she could be a good partner for him. Naruto smiled at her acceptance and led her to a more open area in the forest that looked like a smaller training ground. Okay, let's begin then, Kurane said, taking a taijutsu stance that Naruto had seen in a library book. Naruto fell into his own unique stance, a style Kurane didn't recognize. He swept his right leg forward and his left leg back, presenting his back to her while keeping his eyes on her. His arms were spread wide, as if inviting an attack. That's an interesting stance, Naruto, she said. What's it called, if you don't mind me asking? When we're done, I'll tell you, he replied with a small smile. It's not complete yet, though. All right. I'm also curious about who taught you this and how you learned to use chakra. If you did it all yourself, I'm impressed, she said with a genuine smile. Then, they both got serious and began their friendly spar. Kurane dashed toward him, but she held back, not wanting to hurt him. She quickly realized she had underestimated him when she found herself on the ground before she could even land a blow. Confused, she jumped to her feet. What? I didn't even see you move, she said. That's because you didn't take me seriously, he replied with a maturity that surprised her. I know I'm young and I've been alone, so no one could have taught me what I know. But that doesn't mean I've been doing nothing. This time, come at me with all you've got. I know you're afraid to hurt me, and I appreciate that, but this is a sparring match. Kurane was stunned. He was more mature than most adults she knew. She nodded, and the real match began. Kurane was shocked at how strong he was. He dodged every attack she threw, and she was equally able to block his. She couldn't believe a boy his age was so powerful. Are you one of them, Naruto? She wondered. How is that possible? Who trained you? Before they knew it, the sun was setting. They had been sparring for most of the day. Kurane, who was not used to sparring for so long, was breathing heavily. Naruto, however, wasn't even sweating. A smile formed on her face. You truly are your mother's son, Kushina-sensei. He has as much stamina as you did, she thought to herself. That was quite the match, Naruto, she said, catching her breath. You're very strong, and I'm happy for you. Thank you for today. I've never been this tired before. I had a great time too, Kurane-san, Naruto replied. And thank you for everything. This might sound weird, but I feel like I can tell you something now. Throughout their spar, he had only sensed good intentions from her. He couldn't sense her feelings, but he knew she hadn't held back in a way that would cause him pain. She had landed more hits on him than he had on her, but he knew she had pulled her punches. Thank you for being my first friend. Kurane felt a mix of sadness and happiness. Sad that he had been alone for so long, but happy that she was the one to become his friend. No, thank you, Naruto, for giving me a chance to be your friend, even though I don't deserve it, she said, walking toward him. She stopped in front of him, looking into his eyes with a small smile. I'm going on a mission tomorrow that will probably last a week or two, but I'll be back, she said. In the meantime, you might run into the other lady who was with me, my best friend, Midorisi Anko. Maybe you can make another friend. That's up to you. For now, good night, and stay safe. I'll see you soon. Without another word, she disappeared in a swirl of leaves, knowing that if she stayed a moment longer, she wouldn't be able to stop herself from hugging him again. Kurane was not the affectionate type, and she didn't want to make him uncomfortable since their friendship was so new. Although she would have loved to give him a hug, she quickly left, once again leaving Naruto on his own. Naruto just closed his eyes and focused, as he could still feel her in the forest, moving towards the exit. He was happy with how the day went, but being left alone again made him a little confused and sad. He knew that the Jubi would always be with him, but it felt different to have someone hug him first. It felt nice, and he wanted more of it. He didn't want to let someone in so quickly, but he was willing to give her a chance at a good friendship if she wanted one. Naruto also remembered that she forgot to ask him about his taijutsu, so he just figured that she would ask him about it next time they saw each other. After a while, Naruto went deeper into the forest to hunt for food. He found a large boar and an even larger snake. As always, he first skinned them, then removed their intestines. He cooked the meat over a fire he made, grateful for yet another meal. Naruto then went to bed, thinking about his new friend and hoping to see her again. He also thought about the other woman Kurane had mentioned. Not knowing what to think about it, he quickly closed his eyes and fell asleep, having had a really good day. While his body rested, Naruto decided to enter his mindscape to speak with his sensei about what he had told him earlier. He found himself on his usual spot, sitting on top of one of the Jubi's tails and looking into the massive entity's eye. Jubi-sensei, you mentioned earlier that I needed to go to Uzashiyagakur. Why is that? Naruto asked his teacher, who was quiet for a few seconds before speaking. While your training has been going well, young one, I believe you're ready to learn more about your eyes. That is, if you want. The reason I also suggested your mother's homeland is because it's so isolated from the rest of the world. You need a place where you can train your dojutsu without anyone finding out at the moment. Another reason is that when your mother's homeland was invaded, their enemies tried and succeeded in getting into a vault. However, you might be able to get in because you're an Uzumaki. It's a gamble, but you can try. Maybe you'll find something worthwhile there, the Jubi concluded, revealing what he wanted Naruto to do. The young boy eagerly agreed because he not only loved to learn, he would also get the chance to see what his clan's homeland looked like, even though it was in ruins. When do you think I should go? Naruto asked excitedly, something the Jubi always found funny about the young, energetic boy. As soon as possible, young one. I would advise telling your new friend about you leaving for Uzushiagakure first, though, as she seems to care about you and it would be bad for your friendship if she came back here and found that you were gone. Also, you've stated that you wish to become a shinobi, so ask your friend about that as well. The memories I got when I became myself again showed me that there's a school, and you would need to go to this school to become a shinobi. I don't know when it starts, though, so ask your friend about that. The Jubi spoke quite a lot today, the young boy thought, yet he didn't mind as he now had a lot to think about. He wanted to become a shinobi, so it meant he would have to leave the forest at some point and reveal to more than just 2 women that he was still alive. Another thought crossed his mind, he didn't know if the 2 women reported finding him to their Hokage. The only conclusion he came to that indicates they didn't tell the old cage about him was the lack of people entering the forest to search for him. Agreeing with the Jubi after a while of thinking, Naruto said good night before his mind also went to sleep, having a lot on his mind that he knew he needed to do. The next morning came faster than Ui Kurane would have wanted, as she was still a bit sore about what had happened yesterday. She got out of bed and started her day slowly, knowing she didn't need to report for her mission until 10 a.m. and it was currently a little after 8 a.m. She first went to shower, then got something to eat while still only draped in a towel. After eating her cereal, Kurane got up and walked toward her room to change, only to be stopped when she heard a knock on her window. Having no idea who would bother her this early, especially knowing that her friends wouldn't come to her home unless it was an emergency, Kurane quickly went to the window that was covered by curtains. She was a little angry at whoever chose to disturb her this early, especially while she only had a towel on. Opening the curtains, she was about to give the person a piece of her mind, only for her eyes to widen when she saw who it was. Not thinking about it too much, Kurane quickly opened the window to let the person in. Naruto? What are you doing here? And how did you find me? She asked, as it was too early for her to remember that he was a censor. She remembered a few seconds later as she was now fully awake from the shock of her new friend visiting her so early. I'm sorry to disturb you so early, Kurane-san. I just wanted to let you know that I'm leaving Konoha for some time. You told me yesterday that you're going on a mission today, so I don't think I'll be back when you've returned. I thought it would be better if I let you know so that you don't think I've disappeared when you come back, he told her while standing in front of her, one of his hands rubbing the back of his head as he spoke. Taken off guard, Kurane didn't know what to think. Where are you going? And for how long? The red-eyed woman asked after a few minutes, looking a bit worried, something that Naruto felt was a warming sight as he never had anyone worry about him, not counting his sensei. I'm going to my mother's homeland. As for how long I'll be gone, I don't know. I'm going there to train, because I know if I chose to train here in what I have planned then I might be discovered, he revealed to her, which made her happy and even more curious. Happy because he came to tell her that he was leaving instead of just disappearing, curious because she wanted to know what he was going to train in and even more so, train in such a place that he didn't want anyone else to know about. Nodding her head, she decided to voice her thoughts. Okay Naruto, I get that. Just be careful, please. I know I can't stop you from going, as I know that you're strong. How strong, I do not know. Just come back soon. I meant what I said yesterday about being your friend, she told him, causing him to give her a small smile before he bowed to her a little. Thank you for your concern, Kurane-san, I appreciate it. I'll be careful, don't worry. I'll also return as soon as I'm done with my training, he began, only to remember the other thing he needed to ask her. Oh, and, do you by any chance know when the school start and how I can maybe apply? He questioned while now standing up straight again. Taking a few seconds to think about it, Kurane replied. Well, it's advisable to enter the Shinobi Academy when you turn 8, but you can also enter when you're 9. Any older and you might have a slight problem, as it could stunt your knowledge because of the things they teach you the first 2 years. Or, so I've heard, to be honest. You, however, I don't really know. You're going to have to talk to Hokage-sama to enroll as you don't have any parents. That caused Naruto to frown a little, as he didn't want to talk to the old man that was once his Jiji. Nevertheless, he figured that he would have to do so at some point. No use in staying hidden just because the old cage failed to take care of him like he once said he would. Alright. Thank you again, Kurane-san. I'll let you get back to whatever you were doing. He began, not knowing how to continue, and the red-eyed woman saw this, only for him to continue speaking after a few seconds. Stay safe and be careful on your mission, he finally said before he disappeared, leaving a slightly stunned Kurane behind. She then smiled after a few seconds before closing the windows and her curtains yet again, only to finish with what she needed to do to get ready for her mission. Don't worry Naruto, I'll be careful. Thank you though, was what she thought before she left to meet her team, all the while wondering what the red-headed boy was going to learn and even how. After Naruto left, he quickly made it to the wall that he knew he would need to get over to leave Konoha. With the help of his sensei, Naruto quickly jumped over the wall without anyone or anything being able to detect him, as the Jubi had told him that the entire village's walls were surrounded by a fuinjutsu that allowed specific people to know who enters and exits the village. Because of Naruto's chakra and with how fast he was, he jumped over the wall without triggering the seal and while making sure that no one saw him leaving, as he kept his sensing on high alert and would do so for as long as he could to make sure no one was watching or following him. After that, Naruto began making his way towards Uzushiagakure no Sato at high speeds, jumping from tree to tree, all the while being excited at what he was about to learn. It took Naruto 4 days to reach the ocean, where he was about to start looking for a way to get to Uzushiagakure via boat. That was until the Jubi told him that he didn't need a boat, for he could just run toward the place because the massive entity would continue guiding him towards it. Normally that would be impossible for anyone, for even a cage would struggle, as the Jubi had told him how far away the island was from the shore they were at, or any other form of land. One could not just simply run towards it, even if water walking was possible because of chakra. It was because long before anyone could even reach the island, their chakra would be depleted. That and the waves of the ocean would require tremendous chakra control to stay on top of the water without the wave causing the person to fall into the water because of how strong the currents got. Then came the other part, the reason why Uzu had the name in the first place. The entire island was surrounded by whirlpools that could destroy any boat that tried to even come close to it. For any person to get there by just running towards the place, it would be impossible. Naruto thought that as well, although he knew he had a lot of chakra and excellent chakra control because of his dojutsu. Young one, I do not think you understand or even know how much chakra you have. That and because it's my chakra that I gave you that now just keeps growing, means that your chakra is more dense and powerful than any other ant that has ever walked this planet. To put it into shinobi terms, you have more chakra than the entirety of the fire country put together, the Jubi began to explain, causing Naruto to only stand where he was with his mouth open at what he had just heard. He knew what his sensei was telling him was the truth, as the entity would also never lie or make a joke about something like that. Wow, that's a lot, Jubi-sensei, Naruto finally replied while he looked at his hands, being able to see the chakra that flowed through him. He could only hope that he would be able to learn more about his eyes and about everything that Jubi was willing to teach him at the moment. With that aside, Naruto began with something no person has ever tried before because they knew they would not be able to make it. He ran onto the water and began running towards the island that used to house his clan, all the while making sure no one followed him as he kept his senses up at all times, something the Jubi was proud of. Unknown location. 12 figures all stood in a circle, all of them being holograms and each figure looking different than the other. Among them was the masked man with the Sharingan in his one visible eye, standing next to the plant-like man known as Zetsu. Unlike the previous times this group had a meeting, this time the masked individual along with 2 spiky-haired people all looked quite angry by their facial expressions and the masked man clenching his fists for all to see. Why has no one been able to find the Biju? If they were killed, some of them should have reformed by now. Has anyone found out anything useful regarding that and regarding the weapon we need? The masked man asked, clearly angry by the tone of his voice. He also knew that it was not everyone that had to specifically look out for what he was talking about, yet anyone with intel could help at the moment is what was running through his mind. The one to speak up was one of the spiky-haired people, one standing next to a woman with long hair and a man with almost equally long hair. We have found nothing. No Biju reforming, no traces of them or their chakra in any place. Even the leftover chakra that other individuals had taken over time to keep for themselves had disappeared, the man spoke in a serious tone, yet the people around him could hear that he was also frustrated. The Akatsuki and the Uchiha. No one has shown any signs of having the weapon we need, nor does anyone from your clansmen seem to have the ability to unlock it, Zetsu said. I also tried again to make it with the cells I've managed to get, only for it to result in the same way as before. Nothing. Both his white and black halves took turns speaking, with the white half seeming a little too excited and the black half showing no emotion at all. What of my fellow clansmen? Are they willing to side with me in the coup, or are there still individuals that refuse to see reason with the current clan head, the masked man asked, putting everything he had learned aside for now. There is a problem with that. The Hokage knows about the coup and has Uchiha Itachi as his double agent. We will not be able to inform Fugaku about this, as he would not believe us since Itachi is his firstborn, the plant-like man concluded. The other problem is Itachi, as he is growing very strong and could pose a threat to us. His best friend, Uchiha Shisui, died not too long ago while Danzo tried to get his eyes. Only Shisui escaped before he died and gave both his eyes to Itachi, resulting in him unlocking the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, while I also believe that Itachi was able to acquire the Koto Amatsukami from Shisui. Danzo fled the scene before he could be found out, and that was all that I was able to gather while in Konoha. I knew the old man would fail, I just did not expect it to turn like this. Now we need to convince Itachi to join us, but leave that to me, the masked man said before the only woman of the group spoke up. What are we to do now, Toby? With the Biju gone and us not being able to get the Rinnegan, how do we continue? Just like before, or do you have something else in mind? The angelic voice of the woman came as she asked the question that was on every other person's mind in the group. For now, we continue raising money and keeping our organization in the dark. Once we have Itachi, we will move forward, as Konoha will soon lose even more power than before. The masked man spoke again, sounding almost a bit too happy about Konoha losing power. After that, everyone left once more and headed off to do whatever they could to gather money for their group, while many of them had their own things to do on the side that no one spoke about. Soon after that, the room was empty again, with only a few Fuinjutsu markings on the ground where the holograms had appeared. They glowed for a few more seconds before dissipating. A hidden conspiracy in Konohagakure. Deep in an underground base in Konohagakure, sat 3 people. All 3 of them were quite old, while the one in the middle had a few bandages around his one arm along with a bandage covering his one eye. In front of them was Uchiha Itachi, a member of the Uchiha clan and the eldest son of the current clan head. He was currently kneeling in front of the 3 old people, one also being an old woman. Itachi, when does your father want the coup to start? The old man with bandages spoke out, having no emotion behind his words. Father is a little hesitant at the moment. He fears that Hokage-sama knows about the coup and already has measures to deal with it, while mother, on the other hand, does not want to be a part of the coup along with many of our clansmen, the Uchiha revealed. Before his best friend died, he revealed who attacked him and what that person wanted, which had given Itachi a lot to think about. Tell Fugaku that route will support him, and have him speed things up with his clansmen that don't want to cooperate. The man in front of Itachi, Shimura Danzo, spoke again while deep within him he was angry, only he did not show it. Damn you Shisui. Those eyes were mine. Whatever you've done with them, I'll find them, the old warhawk thought to himself as he then dismissed the Uchiha in front of him. After Itachi left, the other old man spoke up. What do you think, Danzo? Does Hiruzen have countermeasures, and if so, what are they? The old man asked with a bit of fear in his tone of voice. Hiruzen knows nothing. The old man is too delusional. My spy tells me that he does not know of the coup as he has no one looking into the Uchiha clan anymore, Danzo replied with still no emotion behind his tone of voice, something the other 2 people did not mind as they were used to the old warhawk like that along with his route. Sure, he moved them from where they once resided, but that was only because of the Kyuubi attack. After the disappearance, everything seemed to quiet down. Fugaku, however, never let his anger and hatred go after being accused of everything that happened. It gives me the chance to become the Hokage, and I will take it with full hands. Only, none of them saw the black crow that hid away in the same room while looking at the 3 old people before disappearing and leaving no trace behind that it ever was there. Uchiha Itachi was currently sitting in yet another dark place, one that was located beneath the Hokage Tower. He was alone in the room at the moment, only for the doors to open that he had entered from not that long ago. Walking into the room were 2 people, one being Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Saname Hokage, and the other one being a man with silver hair that seemed to defy gravity and that also had most of his face covered, all except one eye. Hokage-sama, Kakashi, the Uchiha greeted them as he bowed slightly to his superior, only for them to greet Itachi in return, all the while looking serious as Hiruzen went to sit down on the sofa that was in the room while torches also shone in the room to give it some light. Itachi, what news do you have for me? Also, you mentioned before that you had something dire to tell me? Your crow didn't reveal that much. Unfortunately, the aged Kage began speaking, wondering what the Uchiha had for him as he was aware of the coup. He could only hope that they had seen reason and decided to not do as they planned. Looking at the aged Kage that he saw looked somehow tired, paperwork perhaps, he thought before speaking. Unfortunately, Hokage-sama, father and Danzo still want to continue with the coup. They do not know of me being a double agent, nor does anyone know about this, the Uchiha prodigy said before he channeled chakra to his eyes to reveal his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Both Hiruzen and Kakashi gasped when they saw the newly evolved eye that Itachi had, only for the Uchiha to continue speaking as he knew what was on their minds. This is the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, as you both know. However, what you do not know is how I acquired it. The younger man began speaking as Hiruzen and Kakashi could see the sadness behind the eyes of Itachi. Shisui died not too long ago, something you both know as well. With the help of my mother, we were able to hide the fact that Shisui's eyes were gone. Father does not know this, as mother does not want to be a part of the coup, but Shisui was attacked by Danzo. He wanted his eyes for the Koto Amatsukami, only Shisui was able to escape before they were taken from him. Before he died, however, he gave me not only his eyes but also the ability to use the Koto Amatsukami, something that very few Uchiha can do, Itachi revealed. If the men in front of him were not as good as they were, Itachi would have seen both their mouths hanging open in shock. After a few minutes to absorb the news, Hiruzen spoke up, only showing a bit of anger after he processed everything. Then Danzo has to die soon, along with anyone who wants to harm Konoha. Shisui told me what those eyes are capable of, and I'm glad that you have them now, Itaki. While I am saddened about the death of your best friend, I have to, unfortunately, ask something from not only you but from Kakashi as well. The Hokage then directed his gaze to the silver-haired man before he continued speaking. I want you both to kill all the Uchiha that are a part of this coup, and only leave those alive that have nothing to do with it, along with all the children. He told them both, something that internally made Itachi both happy and sad. Happy because he would still have family left, sad because he knew he would have to kill his father along with a few more people from his clan. When that is done, report back to me along with your mother, Itachi. We will then deal with Danzo, as I've had it with him. Hiruzen spoke in an angry tone of voice, something that both men in front of him understood quite well as they too wanted to see the old Warhawk dead. Your time has come, old friend. You did not follow what Tobirama-sensei taught us, though we both knew how greedy you were all along for the position of Hokage. The Sandaime Hokage thought to himself after he dismissed both Itachi and Kakashi, who both went to prepare for the attack they knew would not be too long away. Uzushiagakur no Sato, a new beginning. A week later, Naruto finally arrived on the barren island known as Uzushiagakur no Sato. While he had to run the entire time on the water, he also had to jump over many waves that would have crushed him if he did not do so. All the while he never slept and only ate while running every now and then, as he had prepared himself some food for the trip that he kept in a small bag hanging on his back. Not once did he falter while running, as he knew if he did, then he would have fallen into the ocean. Nor did he get tired as he stayed focused the entire time, for he was not able to sleep at all because of the lack of land. That was until he reached his destination. Only before he could reach the land did he have to stop when he reached the whirlpools. He figured since they were made by his clan, that maybe he would only need to give a drop of his blood for the whirlpool to stop. Trying that idea, he bit his thumb and quickly threw some blood into the whirlpool in front of him that he could feel had a strong pull on him while he stood on the water. After a few seconds of nothing happening, Naruto began thinking of another idea that he could use to get across, only for the whirlpool in front of him to dissipate. Not thinking of anything else, he quickly ran across the still water to get to the land. As soon as he reached the land, however, the whirlpool reappeared. Naruto didn't look back as he ran deeper into the small forest that surrounded the entrance of his clan's home. It didn't take long for him to reach a gate, one that was slightly smaller than the one of Konoha. Only the gates of Uzu were broken and only one side still stood, if only barely, while the wood looked to be rotten. Deciding that he had enough of running, Naruto slowed down and walked into the village. There was not a lot left from what he could see, as everything was in ruins. Some of the buildings still had a wall or two standing, while most of them were just rubble. He also found a few bones which were the remains of some of the Uzumaki he had guessed. It did not take him long to find the only building that was left standing, one which he had guessed belonged to the Uzukage if the huge spiral on it was anything to go by. The door was knocked off of its hinges, so he did not have to open it as he only stepped into the building that did show that it took a lot of damage. He did not know how only one building was still standing. Nevertheless, he just went deeper into the building. It only had 2 floors remaining and Naruto did not think the vault that he was looking for would be on the upper level, so he began looking for anything that would lead him downwards if the vault was in the building in the first place. 5 minutes later, he found a staircase that was hidden behind a bookshelf, something Naruto found odd. Walking down the stairs, he opened the only door still standing that he had found so far. After opening the door, he walked into a huge passage that at the end of it revealed 2 massive doors that seemed to be made out of stone. Along the way, he found many more corpses, ones that he guessed were not of the Uzumaki clan, as he also found a few of their Hitaiate which he did not even touch. It seemed that the passage had traps, only they did not activate as he was walking towards the doors. Maybe it's because they are too old to work now? Or does this place somehow already know that I'm an Uzumaki, was what he thought before he reached the massive 2 stone doors that had a lot of cravings on them. In the middle of the doors was an Uzumaki clan symbol, a swirl. Above the swirl was a message, one that read only an Uzumaki can pass. Not knowing what else to do, he bit his thumb again and quickly smeared some of his blood on the swirl before the wound closed itself yet again. He waited 5 minutes without anything happening, so he tried again. This time, after smearing his blood on the swirl, he felt a small pull on the symbol as his thumb stayed a little longer on the door. What was that? He questioned, knowing there was only one who could answer him and he did not have to wait long. It seems to require your chakra as well, not just your blood, young one, came the voice of the Jubi from within his mindscape, causing Naruto to think about what the massive entity said before he did just that. Placing his entire hand on the swirl, he channeled the least amount of chakra that he could, which then got sucked into the seal as he felt the pull being stronger this time. Naruto did not know what would happen, only he did not have to wait that long before the doors began to open. They were rather slow because of how heavy they were, while candles began to lit themselves all around the passage that he entered from. Not minding the lit candles, Naruto walked into the room which he did not know what to expect to see. Once on the other side of the doors, his eyes grew wide with amazement. Wow! There are so many books here, he almost yelled out if not for his normal quiet nature to keep him from yelling. In front of him were shelves upon shelves of books, easily 10 times more than the public library he had snuck into the past a few times. He walked a little closer to the first row of shelves. When he got there, he did not only see books, he also saw scrolls upon scrolls. This place is like heaven for a bookworm, he smiled in amazement, not knowing that he just called himself a bookworm, although the Jubi knew it and could only smile in amusement as Naruto started acting like a kid that got the best birthday present ever, which the Jubi knew him not to really be as his childhood was stolen from him. The Jubi let Naruto explore the place for an hour, where Naruto found a lot of sections of books, varying from fuinjutsu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, and all other forms of fighting a shinobi would use, such as baikijutsu, bajutsu, and many others. He did not know how they acquired so many books and scrolls, only he did not care as they belonged to his clan, so they now technically belonged to him, as he did not know of any other Uzumaki alive. Naruto's new abilities. Naruto's Rhine Sharingan granted him a new spacetime ninjutsu called Amenamenika, heavenly governing inside. This ability allows him to create and travel to personal dimensions, bringing along anyone close to him. His second ability, Shin Jukai Koten, Divine Deep Forest Emergence, lets him summon the Divine Tree. Originally created by the Jubi to lure in those seeking power, the tree can now be manipulated by Naruto using his third ability, Infinite Tsukuyomi, to ensnare all beings and drain their chakra. The third ability, the Infinite Tsukuyomi, Infinite Moon Reader, is a powerful genjutsu. Naruto can cast it onto the moon, trapping every person on the planet in an unbreakable illusion. After explaining the abilities, the Jubi told Naruto never to use the last two on the entire world unless absolutely necessary. Naruto immediately agreed, stating he would never want to enslave the world. The Jubi knew he would say this but felt it was his duty to inform him of the powers he now possessed. That's a lot to take in, Jubi-sensei, Naruto said. I'll do my best to train and perfect my eyes. Knowing he wouldn't rely solely on them, Naruto left his mindscape and immediately fell asleep, exhausted from all the new information. The Uchiha-ku, Kanaha-gakur. A quiet night settled over the village hidden in the leaves. Civilians, tired from a long day, were mostly asleep. The few who remained awake were either at home or celebrating at local pubs. Within the Uchiha clan district, a group of 25 members prepared for the coup to overthrow the Saname Hokage. They were gathered in a training ground, counting on the promised support of Danzo's Rutambu. Fugaku, the Uchiha clan head, stood before them. Though disappointed that the rest of his clan including his wife didn't join, he knew he was out of time. He felt a sense of pride as his eldest son stood by his side. My brethren, Fugaku began, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Not all of us are here, as I'd hoped, but Danzo has promised the support of over 200 shinobi. The rest of our clansmen may have disappointed me, but in time, they will see reason. For now, we fight for them and for our stolen honor. Fugaku was a proud man, confident that even those not participating wouldn't betray him. He was the clan head and had the support of the elders, who watched from the sidelines. Tonight, we take back what is ours, he declared. For too long, they blamed us for what happened 8 years ago and stripped away our power, forgetting we are one of the village's founding clans. They have shamed us, now we fight back. Suddenly, Danzo and all his Rutambu appeared within the compound. Taken aback, Fugaku could only stare in surprise until the old warhawk spoke. Fugaku, are your men ready? Danzo asked. Fugaku nodded, and Danzo scoffed internally, thinking, disrespectful child. You will learn your place tonight. He was about to speak again when his trained eye caught sight of someone unexpected. Hey, take Kakashi, what are you doing here? Danzo demanded. Everyone turned, their shock turning to dead seriousness as the silver-haired man replied. We're here to kill you all, Kakashi stated, shocking everyone. They hadn't known the Hokage was aware of their plans. Danzo was still reeling when Itaka drove his sword through his own father's heart, catching Fugaku completely off guard. Ayataki, why you too? Fugaku gasped before his son decapitated him without remorse. The battle erupted. Kakashi killed 2 Rutambu, but an Uchiha drove a kunai through his heart, believing he had killed a man attacking a group of over 200. The Kakashi in front of him vanished in a puff of smoke. A shadow clone, they all thought. Then they heard the sound of 1,000 birds chirping. Chidori, the voice of the real Kakashi, yelled as he drove his lightning-covered hand through another root member's heart. Danzo couldn't believe what had happened in a matter of seconds. He quickly regained his composure and ordered his men to attack and kill the 2. Itaki attacked him, and Danzo was forced to dodge, his anger getting the better of him. Itaki, I should have known you would betray me. Danzo yelled, dodging a kunai. Itaka dodged an attack from a fellow clansman, killing him in the process. That is where you're wrong, Danzo. I've never been on your side to begin with, Itaka said, putting more chakra into his eyes until they formed his Mangekyo Sharingan. The old warhawk gasped. You killed Shisui, so now you die. Koda Amatsukami, Itaki declared. A Root Umbu member jumped in front of Danzo to protect him. Neither of them expected Itachi to have that technique, and the root member fell under its influence. Itachi simply threw a lightning-enhanced kunai through his head, killing him instantly. "Those eyes are mine," Danzo yelled in anger, finally realizing what had happened to Shisui's eyes. "No, Danzo, they are not," a new voice said. Everyone froze. They all knew the voice, and Kakashi used the opportunity to kill another Uchiha. Itachi stood his ground, knowing the real battle was about to begin now that the Saname Hokage had appeared. Danzo's anger flared. "You knew, Hiruzen." Hiruzen scoffed. "This is my village, old friend. You truly believe me to be senile and blind? Look at you now, pathetic." With that, Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Itachi charged, showing everyone why they were the most feared people in Konoha, with 3 men fighting against more than 200. Danzo tried to flee, but a man in an orange mask and black coat appeared. "Danzo, you appear to have failed," the man said, slightly shocking Hiruzen. "Itachi betrayed us, Madara," Danzo replied, which shocked the remaining fighters. Madara was about to attack to assist Danzo, but he stopped when Itachi moved toward him at high speed. Kakashi and Hiruzen continued to fight the overwhelming numbers, Hiruzen with his adamantine staff and Kakashi with his Chidori. "Come, boy. Let's see what you can do," Madara said as he and Itachi clashed kunai. "I don't believe you're Madara." "Show me," Itachi said stoically. "It doesn't matter what you believe, boy, show me." Madara began, but a sword from behind him went straight through his body. A cat-masked Umbu had appeared. Hiruzen himself was fighting alongside a boar-masked and a wolf-masked Umbu. Kakashi was with a dragon-masked and an eagle-masked Umbu. Itachi said something that shocked everyone but the orange-masked man, Susanoo. Everyone scoffed. It was one of the Mangekyo Sharinan abilities. Itachi was now surrounded by a red skeletal figure, luckily just the upper body, meaning it wasn't fully complete. It had a red tanto in its right hand, which quickly cut down 3 clansmen and 2 root Umbu. He faced the orange-masked man again. He was attacked by the cat-masked Umbu, and Itachi swung his tanto at her. Both attacks passed through the man. "That ability you have proves that you're not Madara, he could never do that," Itachi said. Meanwhile, Hiruzen, Kakashi, and the newly arrived Umbu continued to kill the remaining Uchiha and root members. The now revealed fake Madara scoffed, having not anticipated this turn of events. With Danzo having fled, he rethought his plans as the enemy forces dwindled. The battle lasted only about 10 minutes. Hiruzen and his Umbu were victorious, while the enemy was completely destroyed. The fake Madara was the only one left. They were about to attack him when he disappeared into a swirl that started at his revealed eye, sucking him in until only the Saname Hokage and his Umbu were left. They were all relieved that the fighting had not spilled into the village. "Itachi, Kakashi, find and kill Danzo. Nico, Boar, come with me. We're going to visit some old friends," the Hokage ordered. The remaining 2 Umbu knew they would have to clean up the mess. "Don't worry, Hokage-sama, we will take care of it," said Uchiha Mikado. She then turned her gaze to Itachi. "Itachi-kun, be careful," she said with a small smile. Itachi nodded slightly and said softly, "Hi, Kaa-chan," before he left. Hiruzen thanked the now widowed Uchiha woman before heading to the people he knew had betrayed him. The 2 Umbu were left behind to help her clean up the dead bodies and blood. Hiruzen and his 2 Umbu arrived where he had sensed his 2 old friends were. The cat-masked individual cut the door to pieces with her swords before her leader entered, followed by the 2 Umbu members. "Mito Kato Homura, Yutaten Koharu, my old teammates," the Saname Hokage said with authority. The 2 older people stiffened, seeing their leader with 2 Umbu. Knowing they couldn't escape, they sat back in their chairs. "Hiruzen, we can explain." Koharu was cut off by Hiruzen's angry gaze and the killer intent he released toward them. "Silence. I have had it with you too. I should have done this a long time ago before he was killed. But because of my neglect and failure, I now have to live with that. I know you two betrayed me," he began. They all knew who he was talking about, a name the Hokage was too ashamed to say. The purple-haired, cat-masked Umbu stiffened, pain overtaking her heart, a pain she had tried to bury. "Naruto-kun," she thought, before regaining her focus. She was then overtaken by slight anger, as she and many others knew that while Hiruzen was busy with the village's repairs, the 2 people in front of them had misused their power to send everyone who cared for the boy on constant missions, preventing them from ever seeing him. When they found out, it was too late. He had been missing for a very long time. They later learned that he was kicked out of the orphanage when he turned 3, a fact that angered many, as they were told by the 2 Chunin who had been looking after him that the boy was always safe and well-fed. Finding out that the boy and the Chunin were gone, along with the fact that the Chunin had lied to their superiors, made everyone furious. Among the angry crowd were the purple-haired woman, Hiruzen, Kurane, and Anko. However, none of them were as enraged as Kakashi and the legendary Sunin, Jiraiya, when they learned the truth. Jiraiya found out too late to take action. When Kakashi learned what had happened, he and Hiruzen immediately went to the orphanage. Hiruzen questioned a terrified woman who revealed everything she knew. In a fit of rage, Kakashi drove his Chidori through her skull. The Hokage didn't stop him, as he himself had to restrain the urge to do the same. That day, Hiruzen ordered the execution of everyone who had worked at the orphanage and knew that Naruto had been thrown out, as they had gone against the Hokage's law. The executions were stopped only when Naruto couldn't be found. No one questioned the Hokage's decision, as his word was law. They also didn't want to further anger him, Kakashi, or Jiraiya. Everyone was also angry with the Hokage for his inaction until it was too late. After that day, Kakashi became even more reserved than he already was, and Jiraiya was rarely seen in the village. Kurone grew increasingly sad, causing her to remain a Chunin, while Anko was promoted to Takebutsu Jonin after she continued to train. The purple-haired Umbu, wearing a cat mask, trained more fiercely than the others. She trained so hard that she eventually became an Umbu, working alongside Kakashi. She remained in that position, hoping to one day become an Umbu captain, while Kurene's Jonin tests were approaching. This was the pain Hiruzen had endured for so long. Now, he had finally had enough. He stood before his old teammates. "I do not care what any of you have to say. You do not deserve it," was all he said before he nodded. The two Umbu with him moved swiftly, decapitating both Homura and Koharu in a single motion. Without another word, the Hokage returned to his office, hoping that Itachi and Kakashi would be able to find Danzo. The two Umbu who remained behind quickly cleaned up the area. They knew their leader was furious, but he was skilled at hiding it. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Itachi arrived at Danzo's base, only to find it completely empty. They spent the next 3 hours searching all of Konoha, but found nothing. "I believe he fled while we were killing his root," Kakashi said in a cold voice before covering his Sharingan to conserve his draining chakra, a fact Itachi was well aware of. Agreeing with the Umbu captain, the two men left to inform their leader that Danzo was no longer in the village. Upon hearing the news, the old Kage groaned in frustration before calling for another Umbu. "Put Danzo in the bingo books with a bounty of 5 million ryo," he ordered. The Umbu bowed and quickly left to carry out the order. Hiruzen then told Kakashi and Itachi to go home and rest, knowing the next few days would be difficult for the entire village once the news spread. The remaining Uchiha would also need to bury their dead and decide what to do with the eyes of those who had the Sharingan. Bidding their leader good night, Itachi and Kakashi left, one in a swirl of leaves and the other in a flock of crows. "I am so sorry, Naruto-kun. I should have acted sooner, then you might still be alive," the aged Kage thought to himself before going to bed, sighing about the headaches he knew the upcoming events would cause. This is Chapter 6, everyone. I had a lot of fun writing it, and I hope you all enjoyed it, too. Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I'm aware that some of the Japanese terms might be misspelled. Feel free to point out any mistakes so I can fix them. I also wanted to let you all know that I might make Kurone her canon age, as it seems that's what most of you want. I don't mind making that change. With that said, Naruto woke up well after midday the next day. His body was still tired from a week of running across water, and the flood of new information from the day before had taxed his mind, causing him to sleep much longer than usual. Groaning, Naruto sat up. He wasn't sure if the place he was in had a bathroom, so he began to slowly search the area. An hour later, he was feeling much better. He had not only found a bathroom and a bedroom, but also another room filled with scrolls. The scrolls contained food that would stay fresh indefinitely thanks to the seals placed on them. The 8-year-old boy began to sob a little again, something he had been trying to do less often over the past few years. This time, however, they were tears of joy. He would finally be able to sleep on a bed and use a shower. On top of that, he now had enough food to help him grow and finally feel full, something he rarely experienced, even with all the hunting he had done. He struggled with the shower at first because he wasn't used to it. He didn't know you could adjust the temperature. Although he was a voracious reader, he had never read much about things like bathrooms or kitchens because he believed it would be a long time before he could use one, so he didn't see the need to learn. At first, he turned on the wrong tap, causing him to yell in pain when scalding hot water hit him. He quickly turned it off. The other tap produced freezing cold water, which he was used to. He quickly figured out that by opening both taps, the water would be hot but more bearable. It was the first time in years he had gotten truly clean. After his shower, he found some children's books about bathrooms, which he found odd for a place like this. Maybe it was to preserve them, he thought as he read. That day, he learned how to brush and floss his teeth for the first time. Afterward, he went into the other room and found a huge closet full of clothes, from children's to adult sizes. He noticed that every shirt, top, or jacket had the Uzumaki swirl on it. He loved this detail, as he had learned it was a symbol used by clans. Naruto, not one for honor, decided to wear the symbol because he believed himself to be the last Uzumaki alive. It took him 30 minutes to find a shirt that he liked and that fit him, a white one with the Uzumaki swirl on the back, along with what he assumed were shinobi trousers and sandals. Wow, the Uzumaki clan must have been rich to have this many clothes, books, and scrolls. I wonder what else I'll find in this place, he thought before going to get something to eat. He opened a scroll and channeled a bit of his chakra into it. the table in front of him filled with all kinds of food. He had never seen so much food and began to drool. He dove in, too hungry to bother looking up every single item he ate. After another 30 minutes, Naruto finished everything from the scroll. It was enough food for an entire family, but he knew why he ate so much. As a Jinchuriki, his body required a large amount of food to grow. He had also mainly eaten meat until this point, and the tears in his eyes were a testament to how good everything tasted. He let out a loud burp, indicating he was truly full. "Young one, it's time to train," the Jubi reminded him. Naruto was now much more eager to train. He jumped up and ran to the room he now called the training room. After entering and closing the heavily sealed door, Naruto stood in the middle of the large room as the Jubi began to explain his next steps. "First, remove the genjutsu from your eyes," the massive entity began. Naruto did just that, channeling a small amount of chakra to the genjutsu. His purple Rain Sharingan with 2 tomo in each eye was revealed. "Good. Now your real training begins." With that, Naruto started training to better understand his dojutsu and how to use his power. Konohagakur. The day after the Uchiha compound incident, Hiruzen woke up early to finish his paperwork before a midday meeting. He got out of bed and did his morning routine, which he had been doing for the past 8 years since his wife was killed. Afterward, the Sandaime decided to stroll to his office. He was greeted by a few early risers, mostly shop owners preparing for the day. Shinobi shops opened later since most shinobi slept in when they weren't on a mission. It didn't take Hiruzen long to reach his office. He went straight to his desk to start the paperwork, a task he hated with a passion as the pile never seemed to shrink. 2 hours later, he called for one of his hidden umbu. The one wearing an eagle mask appeared before him, kneeling to show respect. "Washi, Eagle, please tell all the clan heads, along with Uchiha Mikato and Uchiha Itachi, that there will be a meeting at midday. You can also inform the civilian council," the old cage said. The umbu replied with a "Hi, Hokage-sama," before disappearing in a swirl of feathers. Hiruzen coughed and mumbled to himself, "I have to tell him to use the Chunshin outside instead of inside," before returning to his work, knowing he still had 2 hours until noon. Time passed quickly, and midday arrived faster than Hiruzen had anticipated. He had been doing nothing but paperwork and mentally cursing it for still not being finished. "Paperwork is going to be the death of me," he thought as he walked toward the meeting room. When he arrived, 2 of his umbu stood guard at the doors. They bowed and quickly opened the door for their leader. Stepping inside, Hiruzen was pleased to see that everyone he had requested was seated, along with those he had not wanted there. He took his seat in the Hokage chair. Everyone looked at their leader, noticing that more chairs were empty than usual. The Uchiha clan chair was now occupied by Mikato instead of her husband, which many found strange. Before anyone could speak, Hiruzen began. "Thank you all for being here. We have a lot to discuss, which I will begin with shortly." The aged cage then turned to the civilian council, which consisted of 3 women and 4 men. "I called the civilian council here for one reason, to disband all of you. As of today, there will never be a civilian council again." As soon as he finished, an uproar began. One man jumped from his chair. "Hokage-sama, you can't do that," he began. Another man stood up. "Where are Koharu-sama and Homura-sama?" he asked. They both felt a familiar pressure as the Hokage released some of his killer intent, instantly silencing them. "Koharu and Homura are dead, killed for treason against Konoha. Secondly, I am the Hokage, and my word is law. Now get out of here before I have you removed by force," he said in a calm yet commanding voice. This made most of the Shinobi Council members smile slightly, as they finally saw their leader stand up for himself, though they were still shocked by the reveal about his former teammates. The civilian council disbanded as they were told, without anyone losing their heads this time. When they were gone, Hiruzen turned to the clan heads. "Now that that's out of the way, we can finally discuss why I called you all here." With that, the Sandaime Hokage began to explain the attack that was to have happened the previous night, the coup planned by the Uchiha clan members who were now dead, the end of Danzo's route, and the orange-masked individual they needed to be wary of. To say everyone was shocked was an understatement. The Hyuga clan head was the first to speak. "What about the rest of them, Hokage-sama? How sure are you they won't attack next?" he asked. Mikato scoffed slightly before Hiruzen replied. "Because most of those who were killed had sided with Fugaku from the beginning. The rest never showed any interest in joining the coup, as they didn't want to harm the village. With that said, I trust Uchiha Mikato and Uchiha Itachi and know they will look after their clansmen for the time being. This should make you all more confident that the rest of the Uchiha clan doesn't want to start a coup." Mikato nodded slightly, accepting his statement. Everyone else was also aware of Itachi's strength. During his explanation of the previous night's events, Hiruzen had revealed that it was Itachi who had originally come to him to warn him about his father's plan. "Now, about Danzo, I have placed a bounty of 5 million ryo on his head. I ask that you all inform your clansmen of this. I also ask the remaining Uchiha clan members, along with the Hyuga and Inyazuka clans, to be on the lookout for him and the individual calling himself Madara. I will have the Umbu continue to search the village for Danzo, just to ensure he isn't still hiding within our walls, the Saname concluded. He had informed them about the orange-masked man who called himself Madara, only to then clarify that Itachi had fought him and that the person was a fraud, proven by the powers they wielded. After this, the Hokage directed his attention to the Uchiha pair, with Itachi standing behind his mother. "Mikato, am I right in assuming you've stepped into the role of the new Uchiha clan head?" he inquired. The dark-haired woman simply smiled before giving a nod. "For now, Hokage-sama. With our council gone, it simplifies things significantly. I've decided to serve as clan head until Itachi is older," she explained. Itachi remained as impassive as ever, showing no outward emotion, though his mother knew he was still grieving over having to kill his father. She herself felt a touch of sorrow, though not deeply, as she had spent months attempting to persuade him to abandon his foolish plan. "Look what happened now, Fugaku," Mikato thought to herself before the Hokage responded. "Very well, if that is your decision," was his only reply before the meeting was brought to a close, prompting everyone to depart and inform their clan members about the events and their new instructions. Hiruzen then made his way back to his office, moving slowly as all he wanted was to go to bed instead of dealing with paperwork. He also knew that news of the attack would soon spread throughout the entire village, and many would question him just as Hisashi had, a prospect he wasn't looking forward to. Unknown location. Inside a dark cave, 5 figures stood in a circle instead of the usual 12. One was the now-revealed fake Madara, and to his left was the plant-like man, Zetsu. The first to speak was one of the other 3 individuals in the room, all of whom were holograms. "What transpired in Konoha, Madara? I was under the impression you'd persuade Itachi to join us and that Konoha would lose its power," the man with long, straight hair said, his gaze fixed on the Uchiha. "Unfortunately, Itachi will not be joining us. He is far more powerful than we expected, especially with his new Sharingan. While I was fighting him, however, Danzo fled and abandoned me." The Hokage was also there, along with Heite Kakashi and a few Umbu who eliminated all the Uchiha that were with Fugaku and also killed all the Root that were present, the masked man disclosed, a revelation that came as no great surprise to anyone. "So, with Itachi now a threat to our objective, how do we proceed? We can't simply wait for someone to unlock this Rinnegan you've had us searching for the last few years. I understand it's something we require, but we haven't seen anyone capable of unlocking it, so we must accept that it no longer exists." The other unknown man spoke up, this one with spiky hair and also appearing to be wearing the same coat as everyone else. "We will gather allies and leave Konoha for the time being. We're also receiving more requests from Iwagakure, so we'll focus on that for now. Zetsu is also working on collecting more intelligence about all the nations, while also building our army. Not having the Biju or the Rinnegan is a significant setback, but we can't simply halt our progress because of those 2 items, the masked man stated. No one else said anything before they all left, each with their own tasks to complete. Konohagakure. 6 months have passed since the attack on the Uchiha compound, and just as Hiruzen had predicted, it took only 2 days for the entire village to find out. He knew that if the village was aware of it, it was only a matter of time before the other villages knew as well. As Hiruzen had foreseen, many people began asking questions, with their initial inquiries focused on whether the Uchiha clan could be trusted or if they would attack again. When their Hokage assured them they would not, some people believed him, while others remained skeptical. It took the village 6 months to realize that the Uchiha had no desire to attack and only wanted things to return to how they used to be, residing in the old Uchiha compound with the power and respect they deserved. The villagers grew more fond of the Uchiha clan after that, especially because of Mikato and Itachi. They admired the Uchiha clan head as she was much kinder than her late husband. Mikato had also taken the initiative to move the Uchiha clan back into their old home, something Hiruzen had instantly agreed to. They then began patrolling the streets more frequently, as was fitting for the Konoha police. What was most surprising was when the Uchiha clan head asked the Hyuga clan head if they could collaborate, so to speak, with the Hyuga and Uchiha then patrolling in groups alongside in Inyazuka. It made the village feel more secure, especially after learning about the village elder's betrayal. Having the Uchiha, Hyuga, and the Inyazuka as Konoha's police was a significant step in defense while the Uchiha were still in control. They simply worked well alongside the other 2 clans in protecting the village, something every Hokage desires. While the village went about their normal days after that, Hiruzen, for his part, did not expect one of his rising Chunin to be standing in front of him, requesting a very long leave of absence. The Chunin was Yui Kurane, who was also the promising Genjutsu mistress. She would have been a Jonin by now, had she not withdrawn from her exams after she said she didn't feel ready just yet. That was the reason she was currently standing before the Hokage, who could only sigh before he spoke. "Are you certain that is what you want, Kurane? I mean, 4 months is quite a long time to want to take leave. Normally I would decline such a request as it's a very long time, and we need all our shinobi to work hard to get the village back to where it once was," he began, taking a puff of his pipe before he continued. "Although with the village's current state and with the Uchiha clan opening up as they did, and knowing you wish to become a Jonin, I will permit it. You declined your previous test to become a jonin, so I hope that this time off will allow you to get to where you want to be, the old man said, smiling at the woman in front of him. In response, she bowed slightly before speaking. I appreciate it, Hokage-sama, thank you. I also know this might be a little too much, but I asked to be allowed outside of the village as I want to train away from Konoha for the time being. I know that this raises questions, but I ask this as a favor while also promising to give a full report of where I went once I return. That is, if you would permit it, the red-eyed woman asked, a request that completely caught Hiruzen by surprise. He remained silent for a minute, only to smile afterward as he took a piece of paper from his drawer and signed it, handing it over to the red-eyed woman. I will allow that as well, Kurane. Just please, be careful out there. You know how it can be, he told her before she bowed to him and thanked the old man, leaving in a swirl of leaves. Kurane then went to her apartment to get ready for her journey, something she hoped would be a success. When she got home, she quickly entered and began packing her belongings into a scroll, not wanting to carry heavy like most shinobi who were Chunin and above did. While packing, two individuals appeared inside her house, having opened the door and walked in. Kurane did not mind this as she knew who they were, and she had asked them to meet her in her apartment while she was busy getting ready for her trip. Anko, Ujo, in here. Kurane called from her bedroom while she was busy putting away another set of clothes for herself. One might normally think this behavior was typical as many people took leave to go train, but her friends knew her better than that, which made it very strange for the Ice Queen of Konoha to suddenly want to take a 4-month vacation outside of the village. Nai-chan, what did you want to talk about? You've been behaving oddly for the past few months, the purple-haired woman wearing a green coat over her shinobi gear asked, as she was concerned about her friend. The same went for the other purple-haired woman, Yuzuki Ujo, who was currently wearing standard Konoha Umbu attire with her mask off. The woman in front of her were her best friends and they knew about her being the cat-masked Umbu, while many others did not. I am worried about you as well, Kurane-chan. Are you going to tell us what's going on with you? The other purple-haired woman asked, looking at her friend, only to become even more worried as she and Anko saw tears in the red-eyed woman's eyes, something only they very rarely saw. I have to go. While I know this is sudden, I trust you two more than anyone. I want to tell you what's going on, I truly do. She began, wiping the tears from her face before she continued. But I know if I tell you where I'm going and who I'm hoping to meet, you would go tell Hokage-sama, and that would break the trust he has for me, even if it's just a little and we've only spent one day together so far, she said, causing her two friends to look at her with wide eyes that then changed as they now had smirks on their faces. You've found yourself a lover, Nai-chan? Not that we judge, we just didn't expect the Ice Queen of Konoha to have a one-night stand. So, who's the lucky guy that took your virginity, and why would it break his trust for you if you tell us? We won't tell Hokage-sama, and I honestly don't know if he'd want to hear something like that, came the flirtatious voice of Anko, who couldn't help herself as she teased her best friend, all the while Ujo also had a smirk on her face only to then blush at what Anko had said. Kurane was quick to respond, standing up straight when she did so. What? No, that's not. She sighed before composing herself to explain better. That's not what I meant, Anko. I haven't slept with anyone, and most likely won't for a very long time. There is no one in this village for me, they're all just a bunch of perverts. But, we're getting off track now. I asked you both to meet me here to ask if you would be able to meet me in the Forest of Death in 4 months' time. I know it's strange to ask this now, but I can't say more than that at the moment. Just please, trust me. You're going to get the surprise of a lifetime then. She spoke to her friends with a small smile on her face, all the while she was gambling with everything she told them, something she would normally never do. Kurane, for one, did not know when Naruto would return or if, when he returned, he would want to meet her two friends. She didn't even know how she would get to where he was, hoping to maybe find a boat that was willing to travel towards the island. Then she had to hope that Naruto would let her onto the island as she knew that the island was surrounded by whirlpools. Anko and Ujo did not know what else to say or think, so they agreed with their friend as they trusted her. They only wondered what kind of surprise would await them in that place of all places. They then spoke for a few more minutes afterward, only for Ujo to say that she had to leave as Umbu duties called while Anko had to go back to her own job. Finishing with everything she would take with her, Kurane sighed as she, along with her two friends, knew that this was not Kurane-like at all. Nevertheless, they trusted each other to the point of them calling each other sisters in all but blood. Locking her apartment, Kurane put her 3 scrolls into her pouch before she left, heading for the gates that would allow her to leave Konoha for 4 months. After signing out and showing the guards at the gate her papers and the signature of their Hokage, Kurane set out to head towards Uzushiagakure no Sato while she just hoped that what she was doing was the right thing. A week later, Kurane arrived at a small town, one that she knew had many boats as the town was located next to the ocean. She went to the docks and began asking around if anyone was willing to take her to Uzushiagakure, which most of the people declined because of the whirlpools that surrounded the island. After almost giving up, an old man with gray hair and a gray beard who was her height approached her as he had heard about a woman with beautiful red eyes asking to go to Uzu. My lady, I hear that you seek passage to Uzushiagakure. While most of these people would never go there, I can take you. although it will cost you a few ryo, and I can only take you so far. You must be aware of the whirlpools that surround that island." "Yes," he asked, and Korone nodded, glad that she finally had someone who was willing to take her towards the island, even if it wasn't all the way. "Very well. I'll take you there. How you get across those whirlpools is up to you. We leave in an hour," the old man told her, after which she paid him half of the money he asked, saying that she would pay him the rest when they got to where he could drop her off. The old man agreed to it, knowing that it was a smart move for the young woman to do so. They did not know that she was a shinobi, as Korone had taken her hitaite off along with her chinin flak jacket. An hour later, just as the old man had said, Korone was on the boat that would take her towards Uzushiagakur, all the while she just hoped Naruto was still there, or else she would have wasted a lot of time and money. She was acting very unlike herself, she knew that, yet Korone just knew that this is what she wanted to do, as she wanted to help Naruto in any way she could while trying to build a better friendship with the young boy. She took the initiative into her own hands to make things right with the young boy, for she had promised his mother so long ago that she would be his friend. His mother had done so much for her, and she had failed her son, something that caused her to cry herself to sleep many nights the past few months. Now she was heading towards the island Naruto had told her he would go to train, something that was still a bit confusing for the red-eyed woman, as she thought that the entirety of the island was in ruins. With Naruto being away for so long, she could only hope that some part of it had managed to survive and that Naruto was okay. The scribe of Uzushiagakur. Naruto Uzumaki spent the last 6 months in intense training, pushing himself to the point of collapse every single day. His routine was a constant rhythm. Each morning began with a meal, followed by a shower, brushing his teeth, and getting dressed. After that, it was straight to the training room where he logged countless hours honing his skills. His sensei started him on the Deva path and its derived jutsu, beginning with the exact ability that had been his first kill all those years ago, Shinra Tensei. Naruto instantly loved the technique, though it took him an entire week to finally be able to use it properly. At first, he'd overchannel chakra, which resulted in him completely destroying the stacked crates he'd been using, along with parts of the floor and ceiling. It was then that the training room's built-in seals would activate, repairing the damage, which fascinated Naruto to no end. It took him another week to master Shinra Tensei, as the Jubi explained that his proficiency was a direct result of his Rinnegan and the Tomo within them. The massive entity also told him that while the Sage of Six Paths could use the ability, his version was much weaker than Naruto's, and it had taken the sage years to discover the Rinnegan's abilities, knowledge the Jubi had thanks to the Kyuubi's memories. With the first Deva Path Jutsu mastered, the Jubi began to teach him Bansho Tenin, Universal Pull, which took him 2 weeks to master. The first jutsu was a defensive one, able to push anything away from him or even destroy it, depending on how much chakra Naruto put into the ability. The second could pull anything toward him with his hand outstretched, much like with Shinra Tensei. No one or nothing could escape his universal pull, though its strength also depended on his chakra. The more he used, the less likely his target was to escape. Next came the ability that took Naruto much longer to master. The Jubi warned him that because he hadn't yet learned anything about elemental natures, he would have a harder time mastering Chibuka Tensei. He also advised Naruto that as soon as the black sphere appeared, he should dispel it immediately to avoid destroying the entire island. Only when he finally mastered the jutsu, a process that took him an entire month with the Jubi's help, was he able to get it right. He learned that the more chakra he infused into the small sphere, the more it could pull toward it. Chibuka Tensei was a technique that created a sphere between his hands, which he then hurled into the sky. Over the month of practice, Naruto learned he could create the black sphere without it pulling anything to him, as he had at the beginning. The Jubi explained that he had been unconsciously activating the sphere while it was still in his hands. It was only because it was Naruto's own ability that it didn't pull him in, or else he would have died. After mastering it, and once the sphere was where he wanted it to be, he could then activate it with his chakra, causing the sphere to act as a new source of gravity, pulling anything and everything to it. Naruto also learned that he could increase the number of spheres he created, although the ability became more dangerous with each new sphere. Creating just one sphere cost a great deal of chakra, let alone 10 or more. Still, Naruto had so much chakra he couldn't even feel the drain, which made the Jubi glad, as Naruto would never suffer from chakra exhaustion. His chakra reserves only continued to grow and expand the older he got. The redhead's hair had also grown significantly over the past 6 months, now reaching just below his shoulder blades. He learned that at the moment, his Deva path had one major drawback. After using an ability, he had to wait 10 seconds before he could use either the same one again or a different one from the Deva path. He immediately began training to reduce the time, eventually getting it down to only 3 seconds between abilities. He wanted to get it even lower, but the Jubi explained that to reach 0 seconds, he would require all 9 Tomo in his eye. After learning and mastering the first path, Naruto unlocked his third Tomo in each eye, and he could feel the difference. He felt stronger and had far better control over his chakra. The Jubi confirmed this, but added that because he was still growing and his chakra was still expanding, he would need all 18 Tomo to have absolute perfect control. This was a little disheartening for the redhead at first, but the Jubi then told him that he already had better chakra control than even a cage could hope to have. The only reason it felt different for him was because of his chakra's density, a fact that made Naruto smile. He didn't care that he was becoming stronger than everyone else on the planet, as he was not one to boast about his power or use it to take over the world. He wanted to become stronger for himself and to protect those close to him, which at the moment was only Kurone, though only slightly, as they had only spent a single day together 6 months prior. After the first path, the Jubi had him learn the Prita path. Luckily, the training room had a separate system that Naruto discovered after 3 months. It was a seal that, when a small amount of chakra was poured into it, would fill the room with various objects for training. One such object was a seal that, after a small chakra infusion, would emit fire after 30 seconds. The seal's output was tied to the user's chakra input. The more chakra poured into the seal, the stronger and bigger the fire would be as it shot toward the user. Naruto used this to learn how to absorb the flames, as the Prita path conjured a see-through barrier around the redhead. It took him only 2 weeks to master the ability to the point that he only needed to hold up one hand to absorb chakra instead of both. With the second path mastered, Naruto was told that he would need another person, one who was still alive, to train in his human path. Being alone on the island and sensing no one nearby who wanted to attack him, Naruto decided to put the training off and instead learn the Naraka path. When he chose this, the Jubi told him that while he would be able to summon the King of Hell, he would eventually be able to summon the Shinigami. However, they had different abilities, and the Shinigamis were mostly unknown to mankind, with the exception of the sealing ability the fourth Hokage had used on Naruto, which was a fuinjutsu created by the Uzumaki clan. It took Naruto only 2 days to summon the King of Hell, which he was able to do with ease once he got the hang of it and with his now improved chakra control. Summoning the King of Hell, a large head that sprouts from the ground and is surrounded by purple flames, made Naruto aware of the 2 abilities that came with it. One was interrogation. Naruto could hold a person, who would be paralyzed by the head, and question them. The King of Hell would then unzip its mouth to release tendril-like arms that would draw out a manifestation of the victim's life force energy in the form of a large tongue. Naruto could then question the victim, and the King of Hell would pass judgment. If the person lied or refused to answer, the King of Hell would rip the large tongue from the victim and consume it, which would kill them. If they told the truth, their life would be spared. The King of Hell would release the large tongue, freeing the victim from its hold while also causing them to become exhausted. The second ability was called Restoration. The King of Hell would once again summon its tendril-like arms, this time to take hold of whomever Naruto wanted to heal. It would then put the person into its mouth and heal them, releasing them only when they were fully rejuvenated. The Jubi also told Naruto that he could transport bodies and souls using the King of Hell. When Naruto summoned the entity, he also noticed that it had the Rinnegan, albeit without the Tomo. That is because it's your summoning and exclusive to someone having the Rinnegan, the Jubi told him. Naruto then realized, when he summoned the King of Hell, that he could see through its eyes, something he was completely unaccustomed to even though the Jubi had warned him about it. With the Naraka path mastered, Naruto moved on to the next one. He was currently focused on the Azura path. He found it very strange when, after 2 days of meditating for more than 6 hours each day, he was able to form mechanical limbs. At first, he could only create 2 additional mechanical arms that could fire missiles, but he quickly doubled that ability. It allowed Naruto to form 4 arms from his own body, all of which could fire missiles if he wished. He then learned how to transform the arms into massive blades and how to form a second, mechanical head. Naruto would also be able to share vision with his second head, though he didn't want to create an extra head at the moment because he found it creepy. A week later, Naruto learned how to fire missiles from his own 2 arms, and he was also able to transform one of his arms into a blade while turning the other into a massive shield, which Naruto found odd but enjoyed because it was so different. He wanted to continue his training, but the Jubi stopped him after 6 months and 2 weeks, saying he sensed 6 chakra signatures heading toward the islands. Normally that wouldn't be a cause for concern, but for Naruto, it was, because he knew no one would want to come to Uzushiagakure due to the whirlpools. He immediately left the underground location and headed toward the ocean, his senses on high alert. He waited until the boat drew close enough to sense it, and in an instant, he sensed her. Kurone-san is coming here? Why? And who are the people she's with? He wondered to himself as he stood near the water, able to see the whirlpools in front of him. Naruto waited for 2 hours until he finally sensed it and saw her. Kurone had jumped off the boat and was running toward the island, stopping to avoid getting caught in the whirlpools. Because of his vision, he was able to see extremely well, even with the genjutsu still in place. Seeing that the boat was leaving, Naruto thought for a few seconds before biting his thumb and throwing his blood at the whirlpool as fast as he could before the wound healed. Just as it had before, the whirlpool dissipated, and Kurone took the chance to run across the water to reach the island. When she got there, she smiled, relieved for many reasons. First, Naruto was okay. Second, he had allowed her passage onto the island without even speaking to her for over 6 months, and she hadn't been sure if he would want her with him while he trained. Stopping in front of the redhead, Kurone spoke before the whirlpool reappeared. "Thank you for that, Naruto. I know this is sudden, I just didn't have a way to talk to you, so I thought I'd come here to see if you're okay," she told him honestly, which shocked the young boy. You came all this way just to see if I'm alright. He had to make sure, as no one had ever been this kind to him, aside from his father. He also couldn't feel any negative emotions coming from her, which made him happy, as he'd been worried she might have told the Hokage about him and then been sent to bring him back. That's correct, Naruto. Well, that and I also came here to see if you wanted some help with your training. I apologize if my sudden appearance startled you or made you uncomfortable, the red-eyed woman said, to which Naruto could only shake his head slightly. No, it's okay. I'm surprised you came all this way just for that, and I appreciate it. You're also more than welcome to stay here, seeing that the boat you came on left. That is, if you came here to stay for a while, he asked, not knowing if she had just come to check on him or if she planned to stay, as he doubted she could run back across the water to find land again. I did, if that's okay. This is really unlike me, I must admit. I guess I just came on instinct and gambled that you'd let me stay here since this is your clan's home, which, by the way, I don't know much about, she revealed with a small smile, looking at the young boy in front of her. Naruto accepted and welcomed her to Uzashiyagakure after that. He was a little excited to spend some time with his only friend. It would mean he wouldn't be able to train with his dojutsu for as long as she stayed, something he knew he would have to talk about with the Jubi. It's okay, young one. You needed the company and you need this friendship, which I believe could become a strong one in time. As for training, I was planning on having you start practicing calligraphy so that you can learn Fuinjutsu, the Jubi told him, as the massive entity could hear his thoughts. Agreeing with that and happy with the idea of finally beginning to learn the art that had made his clan so dangerous all those years ago, Naruto led Kurone to where he had been living for more than 6 months. To say that Kurone was shocked when she saw the place was an understatement, as she had never in her life seen so many books before. She also knew that Naruto was taking a huge chance by even letting her into such an amazing yet dangerous place. All the knowledge that resided within the vault where Naruto lived would drive many shinobi crazy just to get in and take everything for themselves. She knew that if anyone tried to steal what was now rightfully Naruto's, he'd most likely kill them. Kurone could only hope he wouldn't have to anytime soon, though she still had much to learn from the young boy, as they weren't exactly close friends, which Kurone hoped she could change over time. After entering the vault and the doors closed behind them, Naruto showed her where he slept. Kurone was glad the space not only had a bathroom and a bedroom but also more than one bed. She hadn't planned for anything and was thankful her gamble paid off, something she promised herself she would never do again without proper planning, as it was not shinobi-like at all, and even more unlike her. After she got settled in, Naruto showed her where the food was and how much he had. He then asked her how long she wanted to stay, which caused her to smile before she replied, "If it's okay with you, I'd like to stay for maybe 4 months. I know it's a very long time, and that you don't trust me much, and I also know it was stupid of me to just come here like this. I just didn't want to fail you again. Your mother did so much for me and taught me so much that, in all honesty, I wouldn't be able to face her when I die one day," she revealed to him, still feeling ashamed of how much she had failed not only him but also his mother. That was when Naruto did something he thought he wouldn't do for a very long time. He went to her and hugged her, even though she was taller than him, causing his head to rest against her stomach. Kurone was caught completely off guard, only returning the hug a few seconds later. "It's okay, Kurone-san. You don't have to feel like that anymore. There are many things I still don't know, even if I know I'm more mature than most children my age, but I know that I can at least give you a chance. It's just a little difficult for me, since I've never had anyone to be close to, so I don't really know what to do or if someone would betray me again and try to kill me," he revealed to her, wanting to be honest about that. It shocked the red-eyed woman slightly again, though not by much. Since that day over 6 months ago that they spent together, she couldn't have been happier that he was alive and that he was willing to give her a chance to earn his trust. "Then okay, how about we both learn in this time how to trust one another? That is, if you'd allow me to stay here for that long," she told him, and he happily agreed that she could stay with him if it also meant he could learn how to trust his only friend and vice versa. Naruto would try his best, and Kurone would as well. The redhead didn't know how long it would take for him to trust someone enough to reveal his dojutsu to them. Only time would tell, and at that moment, both the red-eyed woman and the red-haired boy were willing to start building a friendship. 4 months passed rather quickly for both Naruto and Kurone, who had gotten closer than they thought was possible in such a short time. Each day, Naruto would practice his calligraphy, continuing to improve as much as he could, all the while taking to it like a fish to water. He became fluent to the point he could do it with his eyes closed, something he wanted to achieve and was glad he did in only 2 weeks. Kurone offered to help him as well, and since she's a genjutsu specialist, she began training Naruto in the arts of genjutsu, which the young boy was very happy about. Kurone also quickly learned that Naruto had amazing chakra control, which was a little shocking to the older woman since she remembered his mother telling her that an Uzumaki had a lot of chakra, and because of that, they were not good at chakra control and had to spend more time than any other clan to become good at it. While they started to train together, they also learned more about each other. Naruto learned that her parents, Ui Hiromi and Ui Kenzu, had died when she just became a genin at the age of 7. Fortunately for Naruto, he didn't have to ask the older woman her age. She told him she was 21 at the moment and that her birthday was on June 11th. Naruto learned that on her birthday, he went into the bookshelves to get her a few scrolls regarding genjutsu. Korone didn't expect it at all and was even a little reluctant to accept it, since it belonged to his almost extinct clan. Having none of that, Naruto told her that he didn't have anything else and that as her friend, he would like for her to at least learn them since she didn't want to have them. Accepting that, she was surprised to see what he had gotten her, as the genjutsu varied between 2 A-ranked jutsu, 3 B-ranked jutsu, and 1 C-ranked jutsu. She was very happy with what he gave her and even hugged him to show it, something the young redhead was warming up to more and more as the months passed. The young boy concluded in his head that she was only 12 years and almost 4 months older than him, as he was turning 9 soon, which he found out she already knew because of his mother. He also learned that she was only in the academy for 2 years, then became a Chunin at the age of 13. She was still a Chunin, having not done the Jonin exams, as she didn't feel she was ready. Genjutsu is one of the most difficult arts to master, especially if one chooses it as their field of expertise. She was also the aspiring genjutsu mistress, something she took great pride in, as not a lot of people believed that women could be just as great shinobi as men. The more Naruto learned about her, the more he liked her and began to trust her a little more as the months passed. Korone was the same, and she found that he was not only the most talented boy she had ever met, Naruto was also extremely strong and very fast. The red-eyed woman called him a genius this world had never seen before, that coming from someone who had learned about all the past Hokage and how great they were, was saying something. Naruto didn't have any way to respond to that when she called him as such, as he could only blush in embarrassment. Naruto was also able to start learning the arts of Fuinjutsu, something he found he loved even more than how much he loved Genjutsu when Korone began training him in it. He knew that it would take him some time to master both arts, and Korone believed that from seeing him go about his training each day, that he would master them faster than was humanly possible. She had no idea how close she was to the truth about that, since Naruto's Rain sharing and made him learn things extremely fast. Korone also learned most of the things that had happened to Naruto in his past, of all the pain he had to suffer and how he was forced to live. It caused the woman to not only cry and hug him but also to become angry at the people of Konoha, and she felt ashamed of them. She would have told him that she would protect him from now on as much as she could, if not for the fact that he only seemed to become faster each time they sparred in the training room. In the 4 months that they stayed together, Korone herself had also begun to train even more and become better in her genjutsu while also learning the techniques Naruto had given her. She became better in taijutsu, albeit not nearly as much as Naruto, all the while she lived each day with a smile on her face as she and the red-haired boy continued to grow closer while also helping each other in any way they could. Naruto now trusted Korone quite a lot, although he has yet to tell her about his dojutsu or his body kekei genkai. He did, however, reveal something to the red-eyed woman about a month ago. It was a normal day for both of them, and they had just finished their spar for the day when Naruto felt that he needed and wanted to tell her about his chakra. Korone-chan, there is something I want to show you. I trust you, and I know this isn't going to sound like much, but I want to show you my chakra, he had told her that day, which caused the older woman to look at him with curiosity, as she had then told him that if he trusted her, he could show her. What she saw and learned that day shocked her to no end. Naruto had channeled chakra to his hand so that it could become visible, something that was supposed to be impossible unless one had extremely good chakra control. Although that was not what had surprised her, even though she was a little shocked to learn that he had that much chakra control already. It was the color of Naruto's chakra, something Naruto himself had only learned a few months back when he was curious about what his chakra looked like. While most people's chakra were blue, some had other colors, as it varied from one person to another. The only common thing they all had was that their chakra all only had one color. Naruto's chakra was pitch black and blood red all in one, and while Korone was amazed by this, what amazed her even more was that she could feel the chakra, something that was supposed to be impossible, especially since Naruto didn't touch her with his chakra-coated hand. He then told her how much chakra he had and how dense his chakra was, causing Korone to only look at him with wide eyes, as she had never heard of anyone's chakra being as dense as Naruto's. The only other person with dense chakra that she could think of at the moment was the Shodaime Hokage, Senju Hashirama. To then learn that Naruto most likely had even denser chakra than what the Shodaime had, and that could be by far, was very shocking to Korone. She took a few minutes to process what she had learned that day, only to smile afterward and reinstate her words of him being the most special person ever. Korone had also promised him that she would not tell anyone about it, as it took her so long to earn his trust, and she didn't want to lose it. She also trusted him and knew that even with how strong he was, that he would never hurt her. They both opened up to one another little by little after that, something that made both of them very happy. Today, however, was the day Korone told him that she needed to return to Konoha since her vacation was over. She enjoyed the time she spent with him and only hoped that he would return to Konoha soon, knowing that she still wanted to introduce the young boy to her friends she had mentioned to him before. That was another thing Korone had told him about, that he had a few people back in Konoha who missed him, yet they all thought that he was dead. He learned that they were Midorasi Anko, Uzuki Ujeo, the Saname Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, a man called Jiraiya of the Sunin, and another one. The last one was what shocked Naruto the most, as Korone had told him how angry and sad Hide Kakashi had become when he learned about his supposed death. The silver-haired Umbu captain had even gone to kill the woman who threw him out of the orphanage in a fit of rage, something that made Naruto want to meet the man. It was also because of that Naruto had decided to go back to Konoha with Korone. She was happy at that, only she did ask what he was going to do with everything within the vault. I'm going to leave it all here, Korone-chan, while I'm also going to start rebuilding this village. It's going to be a side project of mine, as I have a lot planned. I still want to become a shinobi of Konoha. I'm just going to make this like my base of operation if that makes sense, he told her, shocking the red-eyed woman yet also making her happy. She even told him that if he needed any help, she was more than willing to do so. Afterward, both Korone and Naruto left the vault, with Korone taking all of her belongings and Naruto taking nothing, since he knew that back in Konoha, he had a home that belonged to his parents, and he hoped that he could move into it soon. When they left, Naruto made sure to lock the vault, as he didn't want anyone to enter it, not that anyone could get past the whirlpools in the first place. He didn't want to bet on only that, as the village being destroyed showed that somehow people did get past them. When they reached the shore, Naruto told the older woman to get on his back, causing Korone to instantly blush while also asking why. Well, we don't have a boat to get back to the other side, so I'm just going to run across the water till we reach land on the other side again, he revealed, and Korone just sighed, as she wasn't even shocked anymore at what Naruto could do. Albeit being very embarrassed about it, Korone got onto Naruto's back. She didn't know how, but in the past 10 months, Naruto had grown quite a lot. When she met him in the Forest of Death, she could only guess that he was just past 4 feet, while now he stood at 4 feet 9 inches, 144.78 centimeters, which was very tall for a child his age. She could only guess that it may have something to do with his chakra, since he told her as well that his chakra continued to grow a lot more as he grew older. It was normal for a shinobi to get more chakra the older they become, just not as much as Naruto seems to have. When she was on his back, Naruto quickly bit his thumb to draw blood. He then threw it at the whirlpool before the wound healed, causing the whirlpool to disappear. With that, he held onto Korone's legs, and she had her arms around his torso before running onto the water with high speed. Korone couldn't hide her face from the wind, since she was taller than him, so she did the only thing she could do, she ducked, which caused her head to be next to Naruto's while he ran. The whirlpool came back a few seconds later, only for Naruto to speed up while carrying the red-eyed woman who still couldn't believe what was happening. 3 days later, Naruto reached the shore, as while he ran across the water, he also jumped from time to time to reach land faster, knowing that Korone was most likely uncomfortable in her position. She did, however, fall asleep on his back while he never closed an eye, showing that he was tired. She was still asleep when he reached the land, only he didn't stop then, as he wanted her to get as much rest as she needed. With that, he simply took to the trees, jumping from one branch to another as fast as he could while heading towards Konoha. Not knowing that they had reached land, Korone was quite surprised to be woken up surrounded by trees. Finally understanding that they were on land again, she spoke to Naruto, who was still carrying her as he continued onwards. "Naruto-kun, why did you not wake me up when we reached land?" she asked him, while he didn't stop, only to respond a few seconds later. "Well, I didn't want to wake you up, as I thought that you needed the rest. I know I'm not as tall as you, so it must be uncomfortable on my back, so I'm trying to get you to Konoha as fast as possible," he told her while keeping his focus on the road ahead, only to stop a few seconds later as he knew that she might want to get off of his back now, which she did once they stopped on top of a branch. "Thanks for that. I still can't believe you ran the entire time and didn't sleep once. You didn't even eat much when we were still on the ocean," she said, blushing slightly as she recalled feeding him while he carried her across the ocean, not wanting him to lose focus. He'd initially said he was fine, only to later admit he was embarrassed before finally giving in to the woman who seemed like she could get angry if you got on her bad side. "Well, you know, it was a little strange for me. I'm also used to it, so I don't mind," he told her, never once revealing that he was the only Jinchuriki on the planet and that the Jubi could help him whenever he needed it. She accepted his response, and the two began heading toward Konoha after Korone asked one more time if he was okay or needed any rest. When he said no, they set off to go back home, though Naruto couldn't call Konoha home at all. 2 days later, after a lot of running and jumping from tree to tree, Naruto and Korone finally reached the gates of Konoha. Knowing about the gate guards, Naruto told her he would meet her in the Forest of Death in a few hours before they got close to the gates. Korone knew that he couldn't enter the gates without being questioned, so she agreed, and Naruto disappeared, leaving her to enter the gates alone, where she then signed in. After greeting the two gate guards, Korone quickly went to the Hokage's tower to report to the old man. She knew she'd have to hide a lot, which could, at the very least, result in her being thrown into prison. 5 minutes later, she knocked on the door, receiving a familiar enter in response. She opened the doors and went into the Hokage's office. Bowing slightly to the aged Kage, Korone looked up, and Hiruzen smiled at her before he spoke. "Ah, Korone, welcome back. I hope your leave has done you wonders and that you've rested plenty," the old man asked. She nodded before taking a small paper from her pouch. "I did, thank you Hokage-sama. I now feel ready for the next Jonin exams as well as getting back out to the field, she replied, handing the paper to the old cage. The paper was her written report, which stated that she had merely left to go to tea country to relax in the spas they provided, while also saying that she had trained a lot to improve her taijutsu and genjutsu. She knew it wasn't a very accurate report, but Hiruzen didn't mind it at all. He was just glad that she was back safely, not caring that she gave him a report because he knew she just needed a vacation. Hiruzen, however, didn't even open the report, he burned it, causing Kurone to look at him with slightly wide eyes. The old man just looked at her with a smile on his face. You didn't need to give me a report of where you went, Kurone. All shinobi get leave days. You never once took leave, even though you're still a Chunin and hopefully soon a Jonin. Taking 4 months of leave is okay, he told her. She bowed slightly once more to thank him, truly glad that he didn't read the report that she knew was half a lie. After bidding the old man goodbye, she left his office and headed straight home. Hiruzen just continued with his paperwork, glad that the young woman was okay, even though what he did wasn't very shinobi-like, it was more grandfather-like. When she returned to her home, Kurone was met with Anko and Yujao at her door. Wow, I barely get home, and you two are already here, the red-eyed woman said, and her friends welcomed her home, telling her that they had also just gotten back to Kana from a separate mission and had heard from the gate guards that the aspiring genjutsu mistress was back. Well, I guess it's to be expected, she told her two friends before she opened the door to her apartment and went inside, followed by her two friends, as Yujao then closed the door behind her. Once they were all inside with the door closed, Anko smirked and stared at her red-eyed friend. So, when do we get to meet this surprise you told us about before you left? And don't think we've forgotten, Nai-chan, came the teasing voice of Anko, who loved to tease her friends, something they knew quite well. Sighing, Kurone spoke. I know what I asked you to before, and I do still have a surprise for both of you. I just want a few other people there now as well, so I think it would be best if we met in Hokage-sama's office in an hour, if that's okay, she asked, which caused both Anko and Yujao to give her strange looks. Well, as long as I get to see what this surprise is, then I don't care where we meet. Although, what does Hokage-sama have to do with this? Anko asked, and Yujao also wanted to know, both of them waiting for their friend to reply. A few seconds later, the red-eyed woman did. Please, just trust me. I have to go now, but before I do, can one of you go and also get Kakashi? Drag him to Hokage-sama's office if you need to, she said before she left, heading toward the Forest of Death and not giving her friends any chance to say or ask anything else. Both women sighed before they left to do what Kurone had asked. Anko was the one to fetch the silver-haired shinobi, which she hoped he was in his apartment. When she reached his place, she knocked on the door, and a few minutes later, the door opened, revealing the masked man who looked to have just woken up from his sleep. Anko, what a lovely surprise, the silver-haired shinobi spoke in a lazy tone of voice while still holding onto the door handle. What can I do for you, he asked, knowing that today was his day off and he just wanted to sleep in for the day since he got very little of that nowadays. This is going to sound strange as even I don't know what's going on, but Kurone has asked us along with Yujao to meet in Hokage-sama's office in an hour, she began as a smirk then appeared on her face. Now, do you think you'll be able to make it, or am I going to have to drag your lazy ass there, she asked, really hoping that he would choose option number 2 since she loved playing. Kakashi could only sigh before he replied. Fine, I'll be there. No need to drag anyone, crazy woman, the last part he said softly for only him to hear, which, to his luck, did not happen, as Anko now had a more devious smirk on her face. What was that, Kakashi-kun, she asked as snakes came out of the sleeves of her jacket, causing the silver-haired man to gulp before he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. All the while, Anko just smirked and began chasing him as both headed toward the Hokage Tower. Yujao, for her part, after Kurone and Anko left, went straight to the Hokage to inform him of the meeting that Kurone had called for between the few of them, saying that she had a surprise for them. Hiruzen was surprised, to say the least, nevertheless, he was never one to say no to surprises, as long as they were good and didn't give him more paperwork. Kurone arrived in front of the gates of the Forest of Death only 10 minutes later, heading straight into the forest without a second thought. She was then about to search for Naruto, hoping that she wouldn't need to search the entire forest since that would take weeks. Luckily for her, the second she entered the forest, she heard the familiar voice from beside her. Looking for me, Kurone-chan, came the voice of Naruto, who was sitting on a tree branch next to the tree Kurone was on. Looking over, the red-eyed woman smiled, knowing how hard it could actually be to find the redhead since they had stayed together for 4 months, in which Kurone also discovered how good Naruto was at stealth. I didn't expect to find you this close to the gates, Naruto-kun. Something tells me you were waiting for me, the black-haired woman replied while standing on the branch across from Naruto, who then stood up before he responded. Well, I did say that I would meet you here in this forest soon, did I not? He asked the rhetorical question as Kurone just giggled at his response. That you did, Naruto-kun. Now, are you ready to meet the others, she asked, as it was something she and Naruto had agreed to well over a week ago once Naruto heard the story Kurone had told him about what the select few people who cared for him did. Nodding his head, he and his best friend headed off toward the Hokage Tower while Naruto put the hood over his head that was part of the all-black coat he wore. He did not want anyone to see him just yet, for the only person he could say he trusted was now beside him, and she never called him anything bad. They took their time to get there while also making sure to stay away from any public places so Naruto could stay hidden. When they did reach the Hokage Tower an hour later, Naruto told her that he would wait outside until he was certain that it was just the few people she mentioned before. He could sense more than that amount of people within the Hokage's office, which was the reason why he told her that. Agreeing with him, Korone quickly went up. The doors were luckily open, so she didn't have to knock, while she was also glad that everyone was there that she asked for. Stepping inside, she spoke after she gave a slight bow once again. Hokage-sama, thank you for allowing this sudden meeting. I know this must come as a surprise since I just returned from vacation, but I have someone that I know you'll want to see, all of you. The only request this person has before entering is that it will be only us in this room and not those hiding in the shadows, she told her superior, something that caught Hiruzen and everyone else in the room slightly off guard. Very well, he replied and waved his hand, signaling for his personal umbu that were hidden in the room to leave. Once they did and once Naruto sensed it, he also disappeared from his spot, only to then reappear in the Hokage's office next to Korone. When he appeared in the office, everyone within became a little on edge as it was not something they expected. They thought that the person would walk through the doors, not just suddenly appear in front of them in what was most likely a shunshin. Hiruzen also didn't like the fact that his face was hidden, wanting to know what was going on, which Naruto could feel since everyone in the room besides Korone had a few negative feelings that were directed toward them. This is not what I expected, Korone-chan. You don't have any negative feelings toward me, while everyone else is on edge, which makes it seem like they would attack me at any moment, Naruto replied as he stepped back slightly, thinking that he had made the wrong call. Korone, however, did begin to feel negative emotions which Naruto could feel, only they were directed toward the other people in the room. Before she could say anything, however, Hiruzen spoke up. What do you mean you can feel the negative feelings in this room? Can you also please reveal yourself, the aged Kage asked, and the young boy just kept his gaze on the ground, no longer knowing if he should reveal himself to the people in the room. It's something I can do, that's all. I also did come here to reveal myself to you all, only the door is still open. That and I only trust Korone-chan, so if you'd allow me to close the door, then I'll take my hood off, Naruto replied, and Hiruzen just got more curious as the young boy spoke. He nodded to Kakashi, who quickly went to close the door so that the young boy didn't have to, returning to where he stood afterward with his hands in his pockets. Reaching up to his hood, Naruto took a hold of it, only to hesitate slightly, something everyone in the room saw. Then they saw a few tears falling from the boy's hidden face, something that caused Korone to bite on her lips as she wanted to hug Naruto now, knowing how hard this was for the young boy since he felt that the old man had betrayed him so long ago. Hiruzen was about to speak once more to ask why the boy was crying, only for the young boy to speak first. Why you were my Jiji once, now I can't even look you in the eyes. I know that not everything was your fault, but you are the Hokage. I don't blame you for everything, not any of you. I just would have liked to be treated like everyone else, and not as a monster, Naruto sobbed softly, and Korone knew that he still had a lot of pain hidden within himself. He then took off his hood, revealing his long, spiky red hair before he looked up and met the eyes of a stunned Hokage. The Sandaime Hokage instantly knew who this boy was, although everyone else struggled a little bit to identify him. Only when they saw the 3 whisker marks on either side of his cheeks did they all gasp. Anko and Yujao were brought to tears, just like Hiruzen and Kakashi. And Naruto came the voice of Heite Kakashi, who couldn't believe his eyes. The red-headed boy turned his head toward the masked man and smiled slightly. I heard what you did to the old lady who threw me out of the orphanage, Kakashi-san, was all that he could say while tears ran down his cheeks before the silver-haired man rushed to hug him, something that shocked no one as everyone else in the room wanted to do the same thing. Taken off guard by the sudden action, Naruto sobbed while Kakashi hugged him, still not believing his eyes that the boy they all thought to be dead was right in front of them. After a few minutes, the silver-haired man let him go while wiping the tears from his face. How are you still alive, and where were you? The half-masked man questioned, still in shock like everyone else except Korone. Naruto then told them that he was chased into the Forest of Death, where he then had to learn how to survive on his own. To say that all of them were angry at the villagers was an understatement, as Kakashi felt the need to bring a few certain people back to life somehow, just to be able to kill them himself. Wiping the tears off his face, the Hokage looked at Naruto with a sad smile. I know that an apology is way too late, Naruto-kun, and I know that I failed you. I truly am sorry for acting so late and for being so blind, came the sad tone of voice of Hiruzen, while Anko and Yujao couldn't hold it anymore as both women went to hug him. Naruto allowed it while they hugged him together. It really is you, came the still sobbing voice of Yujao before she let go of him, not certain how comfortable he was with hugging people or being hugged. Anko, however, did not stop until a few minutes later, only for her and everyone else then to look at Korone to explain to them how and when she met Naruto. That was until Anko remembered that she and her red-eyed friend had run into him months ago in the Forest of Death, while she grew a little angry at her friend for hiding this big a secret all this time. Nai-chan, how could you? We ran into him together, and it seems that you two actually know each other, Anko said while wiping the tears off of her face. A woman with red eyes looked at Naruto, who offered her a small smile in return. Afterward, I went back to check on him, as it's very rare for anyone to go into the forest of death, let alone live there. That's where we met, and when he revealed his identity to me, I couldn't just stand by. So, I asked to be his friend, she said, giving a small smile to Kakashi, whose attention was on Naruto even as he listened to Korone. He gave me a chance, and I took it. She paused for a moment and looked at Naruto again, unsure if she should share his secrets. He kept smiling at her, and she knew she could continue. I already failed Kushina-sama so much, and Naruto-kun even more. I'm just so glad he's the forgiving type, she finished, not revealing anything else. Naruto started to speak just a few seconds later. I know what I know because I snuck into the library a couple of times to learn things. So, I taught myself. He lied for the most part, not yet ready to reveal his status or his father figure to anyone. This caused Hiruzen and Kakashi to smile, believing the boy was just as smart as, if not smarter than, his father. At the time, Hiruzen had received reports of broken library windows. He had just assumed it was kids playing, as they had found rocks inside the library. Only now did he learn the truth. I can't even begin to know what you've gone through, Naruto-kun. Again, I'm so very sorry for being a blind old man. Can I ask, however, if there's anything I can do for you now? I can get you an apartment or anything you would like, the old man responded, wanting to help Naruto in any way he could and in any way Naruto would accept. A few seconds passed before the young boy responded. I only trust Korone-chan, so I don't think I'd like living in an apartment, as the villagers might try something again once they see I'm not dead. However, Hokage-sama, I know it's a bit late, but is it possible for me to enter the Shinobi Academy? He asked, catching the aged Kage and the other three people off guard. Korone, however, was deep in thought about what Naruto had said and his living arrangements. To be honest, children your age have already been in the academy for almost 2 years now. However, I do believe you can join them, as it's not every day that someone who lived in the forest of death for who knows how long comes out alive, the Hokage said, and Naruto quickly replied. I've been living in that forest since I was 5, he revealed, once again shocking everyone in the room except Korone. Quickly getting a paper from his drawer, the Hokage signed it and handed it to Naruto, who began reading it. Written at the top was Shinobi Academy Registration, meaning he was about to start on his path to becoming a shinobi. He signed at the bottom and gave the paper back to the Hokage, who placed it on his desk, as he would inform the academy the following day of Naruto joining them. Now, about your living arrangements. The Hokage began, only to be interrupted by Korone. Hokage-sama, if I may, she asked, not wanting to proceed without her leader's permission. Seeing this, the old man nodded, and she continued. If Naruto-kun agrees to it, then he can stay with me for as long as he'd like. She revealed what she had been thinking about for the past few minutes. Hiruzen thought about the proposal for a few minutes, nodding his head before he returned his gaze to the young boy, who almost looked like an 11-year-old because of his height. Why you'd really want that, Korone-chan? The almost 9-year-old boy asked, and Korone smiled at him, telling him she would like it if he lived with her for as long as he wanted. Smiling back at the older woman, he nodded and accepted the proposal. After that, everyone surrounded Naruto and began talking to him. Anko asked how he had managed to live in the forest from such a young age, to which he replied that it was difficult at first and he was only lucky that nothing attacked him. That was until he started learning more and began to take an interest in shinobi things, then he began fighting the creatures that lived there. Yujao and Kakashi just wanted to know how he was doing, while also asking if there was anything they could do to help him. The silver-haired Umbu revealed to him that he was a ninjutsu specialist, and Yujao told him she was a kenjutsu specialist and that they were willing to teach him if he was willing to accept it. It was a little much at first, although he was smiling at everyone else after a few minutes and even accepted Kakashi's and Yujao's offers. All the while, the Jubi just looked through Naruto's eyes at everything that was happening. What will they think of you when you finally show your true self, young one? That's when you'll know who your true friends are, the massive entity thought before closing its one eye. Every one of them even told Korone that they were willing to help in any way they could, be that buying clothes for Naruto or even food for them. The red-eyed woman was grateful for that and thanked them, while the Hokage also told Naruto that because of his mother, since he knew who she was because of Korone, he believed he would also be getting a stipend each week, as it was money that belonged to her that she had said now belonged to him. After that, everyone left one by one until only the Hokage was left in his office with a very happy look on his face while also feeling the sadness within himself because of how everything turned out. Kakashi went to buy some food for the young boy, eager to get to know him better if he would allow it. Anko and Yujao went to do the same, while Korone and Naruto just went to her apartment. When they got there, Korone quickly unlocked the door to her apartment and let Naruto enter. She closed the door while he just stood in the living room, not knowing what else to do. When Korone saw him just standing there after she closed the door, she quickly went to him and told him to get comfortable as they were friends and that she didn't mind him staying with her now. She also told him that it would give them a chance to become even closer than they already were, something Naruto seemed to want, as having a friend felt amazing to the young boy. The day passed quickly after that, with Kakashi, Anko, and Yujiro being in Korone's house most of the time after they brought the food they went to buy for them. They, too, wanted to get to know Naruto a little, even if they knew he didn't trust them, which was logical. Luckily, the redhead gave them the chance, knowing that if they were Korone's friends, then they wouldn't hold anything against him or call him anything bad. That day, all of them made a new friend, as even the normally lazy Umbu captain asked if he and Naruto could be friends. He accepted it with him and the two other women as well. It only seemed that all of a sudden, he was getting more and more friends, and it felt amazing to the young boy. He was never truly alone because of the Jubi. He was, however, glad to make more friends that he could hopefully trust in the future. Hiruzen, however, while doing his paperwork, somehow knew that the paperwork he had now was nothing compared to what he would have in the future because of the young boy. That is, if he was anything like his mother, which caused him to look at the paperwork with even more horror than before. They called him the Curse of Konoha? I believe he's a blessing, the old man thought to himself while doing his paperwork. This old man will do whatever he can to help you now, Naruto-kun. I won't fail anymore, was all he thought before he, too, called it a day, a very eventful one at that. Kakashi, Anko, and Yujiro left before it became dark that night, all with the promise to see him soon. They had not forgotten about their jobs, only now they would take their free time to try and become better friends with Naruto, as they didn't want to fail him again either. Korone, unfortunately, did not have a second bed, yet Naruto told her that it was okay and that he would sleep on the couch, which was a lot more comfortable than sleeping on the ground for almost 4 years. Naruto and his new friends went to bed that night with smiles on their faces, all of them so happy that they got a second chance, just like Korone got. I won't fail you again, Naruto, they all thought before they fell asleep, not knowing what the future held, now more than ever.